We spend a lot of time dropping names on this show. Call us loyal, call us leeches, call us starfuckers. But when the guys at Needless to Say find something we like, we tend to stick with it until they give us reason not to. Just ask the nice people at Bud Light, who recently sent our show a cease and desist letter for lowering the brand value of their Beechwood-aged liquid gold. Anyway, a long while back, we tried to capture an interview with our good friends in the band Psycle, but overeager hosts, bad audio, and questionable fire alarms got in the way. Fast forward a few months, and we finally made good on the promise. Tonight, we have a very special episode of Needless to Say, one that started with a steak dinner and ended with a discussion of hair bands and 10,000 fists, and a whole lot of other stuff happened along the way. So, please join us for a very different episode as we spend a few hours hanging out with these soon-to-be rock stars, ruining a music discussion as only we can. But, before we get to some of their music, let's get the maestro to crank a few notes of our own.
Hello, welcome back to Needless to Say. I'm Craig. I'm here with Mike and Brad, and we're doing the show from a special place this week. We're at the Kaz compound. We're here with Psycle. We'll be bringing those guys in a minute.
You guys remember Psycle, don't you?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We've mentioned them once or 12 times in the last 9, 10 minutes.
Yeah. But it's nice to be somewhere where Mike is allowed to be within 500 yards of.
Yes.
You know, and still enjoy a good time.
Yeah.
So,
We'll see how the night goes.
yeah.
I can't remember the last time we all went out as a group and Dateline wasn't following us early behind.
Son of a bitch.
But anyway, how was your weeks, guys?
Well, I mean, I got to use this moment. I got to thank Mike. We just made fun of him for being a pedophile, and yeah, shame on you for that.
Whoa.
But that
Making fun of
aside,
me for that.
as bad as you are with children, I do want to thank you for helping me shuttle mine around this week.
Your kids are the best, man. That was no problem.
It was great, man. Wow, wifey went back to work this week after, I'll just say, many years. And it was good. It was good. She's got a good job, but I realized just how much I hate parenting. And I had to do it this week, and I had to do it on a pretty meaningful level. And I realized on Sunday, my wife's like, I'm starting work tomorrow. And I'm like, fuck, I don't have a car. And so the kids, I mean, I wasn't going to get them an Uber because they're 10 and 5. So I wasn't going to just throw them in there.
You got the mic instead.
Yeah. So I hired Goober.
Think that.
Goober. And the rates were good. I gave you
Uber,
3
Goober.
for the car,
Thanks, bro.
but the ride was courteous.
was.
You took us door to door. There was no concern.
I was clean. I took showers
Yeah.
every day. When I did,
Not before you picked us up, though.
No, after, obviously. No.
But we had a good week, and then on top of it, we took your car. Your car was not designed for the highway, but we pushed
Definitely
it.
not.
We pushed it. This was like the Enterprise on its last legs, man. It was not going where
This car
it was
designed
supposed
for
to
the
boldly go.
thoroughfare. It's so freaking old.
But it got me to a used car lot where it recognized a lot of its friends. And we got me a car, so starting Monday, we won't have to do it anymore.
Well-
but this kind of ties into your week, Mike, so thank you, first of all.
No problem.
And
bro.
congratulations, secondly. What are you doing
thank
Monday?
you, man. Going back to work. Finally got a job, everybody.
A real one.
Finally, a real job.
Just for the record, if you listen to the show, Mike has made this announcement for the last 7 episodes.
No, I think this is the one,
This
guys.
is the one.
This is the one, guys.
Well, it
I'm
better
telling
be.
you.
Your uncle got it for you.
Yeah, well, he gave me the job. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm psyched. I'm happy to go back to work for him. I worked for him before. I'll be inspecting,
Oh boy.
like
Quality
Clouseau.
control.
Quality control, baby,
Fucking
and
your poor
expediting.
uncle.
She was psyched to
Lock
have
the
me.
doors now.
Quality
Just
control.
close everything.
My 10-year-old daughter stopped me before we got in your car one of the many days this week and said, Mike wore that shirt yesterday. And I said he also slept in it. So no,
I did not. I did not. Really,
she
people,
recognized
I
the
did not.
extended collar.
My U-neck.
Yeah,
Oh man.
So that's good. So you're going back there.
Going
That's
back
good.
to work,
That's a
man.
good job too.
Yeah, I'm psyched. Oh, I also want to give out a shout out to my buddy Pete. He lost his dog. 4th of July fireworks. His dog freaking took off on him and shit. He was all worried, posting stuff everywhere. And needless to say, somebody did get back to him. They found the dog.
Like a little over a mile away. Or
Yeah,
something.
little Lionel is back home with his papa.
If you listen to last week's episode and the episode the week before, you know how much I hate this fucking holiday. Because
love
it's
it. You
the
love it.
fakest piece of shit holiday ever, and I live in Bristol.
love
That goddamn fake ass parade. Now we're chasing dogs away. Yeah. Really, what else has to happen?
I know.
Fuck you, independence.
Oh shit.
All right, Craig, how was your week? We got guests here, so let's get through this.
Yeah, we're gonna get through this. So no, my week wasn't too bad. I finally went back to work after a week's vacation. No, I didn't go anywhere. I just stayed home. But but anyway,
Pop shop.
then my Monday back, I woke up in the morning full blown sick, like I was out of commission. But it was only lasted 2 days.
What kind
My
of
wife
sickness?
had
Because
it.
when I hear full blown, there's a third word that usually follows.
I mean, I was sick as a bastard, fever, the whole 9 yards. It lasted 2 days and it was over.
All right,
You
so
know,
it's not that disease. then.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. But it was good because then Wednesday morning I woke up. I was like, wow, I feel great. Went to work, hurt my back immediately. So this week just sucked. So,
Yeah, but you did a little
Who's
fishing.
going to listen to us? We're like, we got to get younger listeners.
yeah, exactly. Right? I know.
Hey, sponsorship.
Yeah. It was just a hell of a week, but then it ended off on a good note this week. Worked on Prudence Island, a small little island off of Bristol, Rhode Island.
Yeah, and it's an actual island, unlike Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because our listeners are dumb enough to not know that.
it was nice. Had a
three of
short
them.
job with a 5
All
hour
three
wait
of
for
them.
the next ferry. So I spent it just fishing and drinking beers. So it was nice.
And
But
the
that was
logical thing then, let's drive halfway across the state and do a show.
it. And do a show.
Yeah.
That's right. Interviewing a band we already screwed this up with once.
Yep.
Yeah, I know.
But with that, can I give
Sorry
these
about
guys a
that,
healthy
guys,
introduction?
Absolutely.
Ladies, gentlemen, we have waited a long time for this night. We were back in the winter the last time we saw these guys, last time we hung out with them. The groupie's hitting the glass right now. We're here with Psycle. We've mentioned this band so many times to the point where we actually said we were digitally spooning these guys.
Yep.
But the truth is, when you make friends around here, you keep them, and we love these guys not only for
right.
the music they make, but for the people that they are.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're here tonight hanging out with 3/4 of Psycle. I'd like to give a big shout out to Jay. He wasn't able to make it tonight. But gentlemen, if you could introduce yourselves and let everybody know, finally, after weeks and months and almost a year of hearing about you, who are you?
Well, my name is Mike Kaz. I play the bass in the band.
My name is Seth, and I sing and play the guitar, and I just like to say that Mike also sings beautifully, too.
Yep.
Angelic. It's angelic.
It's angelic.
And I'm Joe. I don't sing, but I do play some guitar.
I love it. Everybody's got a microphone except for Joe on stage. I watched him venture near one once and Seth slapped him in the arms. Like, "Get away." And then they kicked me out, so don't worry.
I'm not going to lie, though, we actually we actually discussed putting one up there and just not plugging it in so he could go up to it and
Just
be
for
like,
optics.
I'm ripping my vocals.
Yeah.
It's not on. It does look cool.
I think you should.
Right.
I think you should totally Milli Vanilli those solos. Though.
Hang a bandana from it, get it all going like you're.
I'd go even further. I'd do like the cow skull. I'd hang the bandana from the horns. I would do that.
Not a bad place to keep your picks on it anyway. You know?
Yeah.
He would store beer on it. What are you talking about?
Perfect. That's what I'm talking about.
And despite all the ribbing, Joe's my favorite. So one of you guys, whoever wants the mic, talk to us a little bit about the band. I know we've described you guys, and we've tried our best to really capture the sound. But I think it's important that tell us who you are now, and then maybe just give us a little history on how you got here, because your history dates back almost 20 years. Okay, and we're looking at a long history for a band, and you guys took a long road to get here, but I think the end result was totally worth it. So
This is true. Seth would probably be more qualified than I am, but Seth actually founded the band way back in the early 2000s?
Yeah, 2001.
2001, with a totally different lineup. Make a long story short, they put out an EP. Fast forward to almost 2 years ago, and Seth asked me if I wanted to join an original band. I said absolutely.
Actually, let me jump in there. How'd you guys meet?
Well,
Because, Mike, I know you played in a bunch of other bands before.
yes, I played in a bunch of other, mainly cover bands. Seth and I met when I was playing with the Creed cover band that I was with, Human Clay. We played a gig together, and throughout the years we did a few gigs together with both Human Clay and Beyond Blonde, which was a original band that I had. Friendship developed. Seth called me up about 2 years ago. Figured, yes, absolutely. So he sent me all of his previous stuff. I loved it right away. We rehearsed with him for about 3 months, and then we started writing on our own stuff. So what you hear, those 4 songs on the EP, are the first 4 songs that we wrote as a band in this current lineup together.
Would you consider this a new band? Now, we asked you guys this when we were in the fateful green room.
I consider it a new band, only because it's new to me, and because we're writing quite a bit now to a point where we don't really have to play some of the older songs anymore, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. And at the same time, it's not cool because I also liked a lot of those songs that were written before.
Yep.
So it's...
Well, we're going to get to the new music, but for those of our listeners, because we just inherited a whole bunch of new ones, and so if they're not diligent enough to go back into the archives, tell us a little bit about the music. What kind of music you play? I mean, we describe you guys as straight up rock and roll, but I think there's probably some better comparisons and better descriptions.
The best description that we've gotten is classic modern rock, which I think is an incredible compliment to me.
Wow, that really encases.
Yeah,
It does.
It
Happy 4th of July.
yeah.
The rest
My
of the
dog
world
is
agrees.
freaking out, unfortunately.
We're
Amazingly, on July 13th, we're still independent
still
Yeah.
independent in Rhode Island. And we are
But,
outside.
and still not an island.
Or a road.
Oh, I got to tell you, one of my favorite jokes about this: there's no paving here. All right, so straight up modern hard rock. I say hard rock, 'cause, modern classic rock. I'm going to be honest with you. I think I like the word hard because the rrhythms you guys have really do drive it home.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of. I mean, that's a bunch of the influences that we each have involved. Seth and Joe both come from a heavy '90s rock influence. They like the bands like Bush and Pearl Jam and all those grunge bands, which is great. And I was influenced by the power metal and hair rock and all that
Yep.
stuff.
And that's how we met.
Yeah,
I actually
absolutely.
know Kaz going on a decade.
Absolutely.
What did I meet you? Black Label Society, right?
Black Label Society.
That's right.
Yeah. We ended up at a Zach Wilde concert together, and
You still hang out with this
Yeah, it was
guy?
just gonna say, it was
we still hang
all
out.
downhill from there.
The trick is take 6 months off in between, and we're the best of friends.
It's true.
I've known him a decade. This is the first time I've seen his backyard.
We've invited him half a dozen times.
Yeah, actually, that is on me. That is on me.
Yeah. So, but anyway, like I said, I mean, that was the stuff I grew up on. I mean, these guys can explain better than I can.
Yeah, tell me, if I had to tell somebody who had never heard you before, 3 bands that define your sound, the best of your ability. I mean, you sound like Psycle. I don't want to do that to you. You're original musicians. You make original music. But just for the sake of argument, you're in an elevator. You want to have that conversation and let people know if you like X, Y, and Z. What are those X, Y, and Z bands?
Mine personally.
And actually, I'd love to hear all 3 of you do it.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
just start with me. Myself, I hear a lot of comparisons with us, with Live, Collective Soul, Blackstone Cherry, things like
I got one of them. on the
And
outline.
I'll turn the mic over to Seth and see what he has to say.
Come on, give me another one. I guessed 3 bands to describe the sound.
Wow. So 3 bands. Wow. I would say that because like Mike was talking about with the modern classic rock feel. I think there's a God. I hate even saying this because it sounds so ridiculous. Like Cover and Stay With Heaven. I think there's a little bit of Sabbath in there with some of the feel of stuff.
Definitely.
I think, and I think that when we're talking about the classic portion of it, they were kind of a modern version of what the classic rock was. That metal, but it's not metal of what you hear now. It still had a lot of the classic rock moments in it, but it was a little darker. It was a little edgier. And I think there's a lot of inspiration from Joe in there too, because he's a big Sabbath fan.
Definitely, I love him too, man. And every time, I hear some of those riffs, you can definitely tell that it's
The
coming
influence
from
from it,
influence,
yeah.
Right. Another one.
That's why
That's why I love.
So,
Is it really?
Oh God, I'm a
Yeah.
Sabbath
Sabbath's
junkie.
awesome, man.
Another thing we've actually heard a few times, which I never really kind of put my finger on, is Candlebox.
Yeah,
Which we've heard that a couple of times from people. Which that's, you hear something like that, that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think I was influenced a lot by 60s, 70s rock, but a lot of 90s stuff. So a lot of the Seattle sound of things.
Right.
And I think that the mashup with that, I think, is realistic because if you look at the writing, the lyrics, if you listen to the big bada boom, it's my time to shine. So there it is.
You have no idea. There's somebody flashing a light in his face and fireworks are going off in the back. If this guy doesn't have lead singer disease, I don't know what to.
Oh man,
That's great.
but no, I think it's funny because I think if you look at the way the 90s sound went and that Seattle sound, and I was actually I did an interview maybe a month or so ago and somebody asked me this question. The lyrics and the music carried each other. They didn't feel separate. And I think that that Seattle sound had that. So the music really fed with the lyrics. And the 60s and 70s did that too. And I think we got away from that a lot with some of the modern stuff.
That's so Eddie and the Cruisers.
I pulled my mic to the face just to laugh at that.
But I'm deep. But I'm deep.
If you start quoting Huey Lewis at any point tonight,
So I think the Sabbath influence that level of kind of the classic rock with stuff, the edgier kind of feel of stuff in the 90s stuff. But I think for us, it really comes down to melody. So I think we got a lot of that from some of the the Pearl Jams and the Soundgardens and things like that too. That was inspirational for me. But let's go to Joe because Joe has not talked very much, but since Jay's not here, and I would like to also say we do miss him very much.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
absolutely.
Joe said that he is going to step up his game tonight. And he's gonna step up. Oh, hold! Let me turn the mic over right now.
And for the record, that's beer Before number he gets 3. to since beer we've number been 4, here. because then things are just going to get ugly. No. Man, influences by me are just all over the place. But one band I think I hear some of once in a while that a lot of people don't even know about is a band called Government Mule. And
know them.
you know the Mule, yeah. Heavy, good, just rock kind of stuff. I'm not saying that we're as good as Government Mule, anything like that. Love Government Mule, but just that kind of intense rock kind of thing. Like to bring that out. I think it comes out. There's a good chemistry. We can start jamming on something, man, and off it goes.
Yeah,
But,
the chemistry is incredible between you guys. Not just the music, but the way you guys look at each other. You can see the thoughts like going back, bouncing
cool.
back and forth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You guys are tight.
Well,
man.
it was
That's
the
good.
first show we saw you, and we mentioned it on this show, but it was where Jay's bass drum kept coming loose.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
And there was an instinctiveness where Kaz heard something wasn't right, because he's facing out singing.
because, like we mentioned, he sings like an angel. Anyway, he was facing out and just blessing the crowd with his harmonies. Yeah. And he realized something was off with the bass. And he went back there, and without missing one finger strum, and he's a finger bass player, and that's important to me. Okay, I don't play, but I do respect. But I got to tell you, he put his foot down and he held that bass in place until the song was over and Jake could get that thing back in place. And you guys didn't miss a beat of the song. Everybody in the band was aware of what was going on. And again, you could at any moment you could have been like, guys, we're going to try this again. Okay, it's a Sunday night. It was kind of a weird crowd. We're going to start over. You could have done that. Nobody would have faulted you for it. But you said, no, the hell with it. Show must go on. And I'm not. You guys are seasoned musicians, and my hat is tipped. So
definitely, man.
The
drummer's best friend is always his bassist.
Is always the bass player. I mean, if something's off, then you know, obviously I got to try to do something to correct it. That's my job, more or less. So I mean,
but what's crazy is we were facing the stage and we didn't hear anything wrong.
Yeah, well, that's good.
But somehow the bass player, he caught that, stuck his foot out, and kept strumming away and singing. And I am impressed.
Cool. That's cool. I'm glad you guys noticed that.
I feel for you. I mean,
it was awesome.
All right, so let me tell you the bands I was thinking. I'm sorry, Craig, I jumped on you.
Go
but
ahead.
real quick, if my thing doesn't blow away in this windstorm, Blackstone Cherry was one of the bands I mentioned. I think Blackstone Cherry is really a good way to define you guys. I also mentioned Fuel. I think there's a bit of Fuel in you. And actually, the one band I hear the most is the one I like the most out of all the bands we mentioned. That's Alter Bridge, with the exception of Sabbath.
I think I literally just need a pants change, but thank you. But thank you for that.
Alter Bridge is a phenomenal band, vocally and percussively, and with everything musically. And so I'm a big fan. But I cut Craig off, so I'm going to shut my mouth now.
No, it was no big deal. I actually just wanted Mike to give me a beer. I'm just kidding.
I gotta get myself one too.
But actually, get him a beer.
I was just kidding. No, I was gonna ask you guys a question about because now you've got management. Things are moving forward. You guys are actually pumping stuff out. You got writing these songs. When Kaz finishes his worldwide vacation tour, is there a tour in it for you guys? Like,
are you guys going on tour separately?
Because Kaz loves to vacation. So.
We made serious space for you on our show. Yeah. Just we wrote an intro about you.
Yeah.
You guys, throwing some shade my way, and
it's not shade.
Don't get me wrong. I appreciate it because
Hey, by the way,
bad publicity is good.
By the way, my uncle that just gave me a job, he also bought a travel agency. So I'll give you his number, man. You'll be
we go on vacation together.
I'm not gonna lie though. So I remember the last time that we were going to try and do this for the show. I defended the honor of my bass player.
You tried
because you just got back from vacation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, are you guys picking up on this too? Because
You know what's weird?
I don't
though?
see you posting any cruise pictures.
I defended his. Have you seen? I'm see-through, my friend. I have a pact with the sun that says, we are not friends. But the funny thing is that, as you said that, do I pick up, there's a pattern here. And I defended his honor, and I realized that now we're coming back full circle again, and he was just back on vacation again.
Just got back from vacation this week.
And you know where I was at?
Well, you're getting married, so
I was not on vacation.
Yeah. And by the way, you're getting married, so that vacation ends.
Yeah,
it's over.
No, it's the vacation for the rest of my life.
I have to say, we saw Seth's engagement photos, and they're beautiful.
Oh,
they look really good.
Awesome.
But I got to say, there's one shot where you're kind of leaning into her shoulder, and she's looking right at the camera.
She was suffocating.
And it's actually like she's saying, "Oh my God, I'm marrying this guy," and you're burying your head, going, "Holy shit, I can't believe I'm marrying her."
As soon as we saw that picture, we chimed into each other like we got to get him.
You know what's so funny
That's a
about
good
that?
one.
Because
like
so we got all the pictures in, and so my fiance, she goes to the vineyard every other week. She works for a dentist's office, so of course we're going back and forth. She wasn't at home at the time, and we're going back and forth. And she's like, "Do you want to put some up and this and that?" I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna put one up. I think it's beautiful," and I didn't realize until after we put up. I said, the thing that takes up the most of the picture is not us. It's this massive tree.
Huge tree.
I mean, it's a beautiful shot, and
it is
I
awesome.
always
The picture is
beautiful,
incredible.
man.
it's a yeah. I mean, the girl took the shots, did a great job.
Almost
doing?
looks like an album cover.
Oh, Michelle Mayali,
You know,
photography, shout out.
nice.
Oh, no, we're not above name dropping. Shout it.
Yeah, go nuts.
But I knew when we put that up. I said I have literally just opened my rib cage at this point for everyone on social media to bring it, and my balls are a little black and blue because I've been kicked a few times.
And I'm embarrassed I didn't jump on that. But it's Seth
Dude,
and
that's
I-
my fiance. Don't.
No, not on. No. I didn't even catch on the joke for a second. I'm like, oh shit, he's mad. All right, let's just pick on your bass player again.
I like it.
All right, so what were you
No,
saying,
but
Craig?
what I was getting, will you guys be extending it like a bigger tour around? Are you gonna start doing something like that, or you're gonna stick local for now?
I think what we want to kind of do is we're really involved in writing right now, and I think we want to.
Yeah.
We've been concentrating a lot lately on writing the best songs that we can, so we can put out another album and show that we got such an amazing response from the EP.
That's a smart move, I think. That's
Yeah, and I think
where you
as
guys
we
should
can
be right now.
show
It's awesome.
that we're not just writing, we just threw everything into 4 songs and that's what we're kind of laying our hat on. I think that we're able to put out more songs and show progression as a band, as musicians, and show that, it isn't just 4 songs. We're going to continue to try to write the best songs we can and have a good album.
I think that's key. I think every band's second album is their most important. You have your whole life to write your first album. I feel like
Yep.
that second one, that follow-up, that not only delivers on the promise, but also shows that you're going to grow as a band, I think that's huge. And the songs that we heard the last time we saw you, when we tried to interview you, they're really good. And I think they're showing you building on that sound, and all of the bands that you just mentioned, it's all right there. So, I mean, I'm totally in line with what you're saying, but how are you feeling being in studio? Do you feel like these songs are coming together now?
I mean, I think, and I don't want to speak for the guys, but for me, I think the most exciting thing about the band is when we hear the 4 songs we did on the EP, and then we've seen our relationship progress as a band and as people, but to see where the songs have gone, and I hate using the word organic, but it really made things very. It's not easy, but I think we know each other to the point where we can take criticism. We're not. It's not about our individual parts. It's about being satisfied with what the song needs. So if it really needs to, one of the, like we've talked about before, one of the new songs we had, it was a song that was through and through, and we took a piece of it and it created a whole song.
That's
so
right, yeah.
it's about letting the song dictate itself and to go where it needs to. And I think with these new songs, to me, it wasn't about. There was a really good flow to the songs, and we were able to communicate, and it came out, and it feels natural, and it feels like it's a good progression. And I think we push each other without even knowing it. I want to sound better as a singer, not for myself, but for these guys. And Joe is a guitar player, and Jay is a drummer, and it's not about being like Jay said it last week. It's not about overplaying. It's about being better at what you're playing. And I think we're getting to that point.
There's a big camaraderie aspect to everything in a band when you're in a band, and the better you do, the better everybody else does. That's great. I know you can see you guys are all about it.
Trying very hard at constantly improving at what we do. Whether it's Joe being a guitarist, me a bass player, or us as a band.
Right.
And it's always been something that me personally, have always been, that's one key.
Strive for.
Yeah, to strive for.
Right.
If you're going to play, I hate to sound egotistical, but if you're going to play with me, that's one of the things that I got to require from people, is that you're constantly improving yourself. Don't be satisfied with where you're at.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't have standards, you're not gonna get anywhere, right? So
Yeah. But it seems to
That's
be
good.
working.
definitely.
I'll tell you that.
It's
From
definitely
what we're
working.
hearing. You know what
Proof's
I mean?
in the pudding.
Yeah, exactly.
Biatch.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a question. Craziest thing that's ever happened to you concert-wise? Like, what's the craziest thing that's ever happened?
Just being at a concert or playing?
Playing.
I'd say
playing.
you guys treat it like you're in a rock and roll band.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the craziest thing happen on stage, backstage, in front of the stage? I know. Mike's wife is here, sitting at the table with us. So
She might have the best story of all.
Mike's story.
Let's not knock that.
Well, no, that's the beauty of it. Mike's story is going to be lame.
I'm terrified.
Because he's going to be like, my wife's here. And then we're going to hand the mic to Kara, Mike's wife, and the story's going to be epic.
Yeah.
But why don't we start off with Joe? It's the best concert story that ever happened to you.
Doesn't have to be just something that sticks out.
That sticks out, man.
Memory.
Flash from the stage, especially if it was a woman.
We're talking about Joe here.
Oh, boy. He has what we like to call universal appeal. Especially the tank top you showed up in. Right?
Craziest.
Came on a bus from the Cape, didn't you?
Oh my God. I'd have to say, man, our first gig as Psycle. We're opening up for Dead Set Society. All of a sudden, boom, there we are. Great gig, great guys. And we get up on stage. I messed up my MIDI cord that, plugs into my effects box. And so I had no effects. I had one tone all night, which was like a mix of a few different things. And, and that happens. And you prepare for this gig for like a long time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we've been playing for, I'd say almost a year before we even did that show. Man, we get up there and that goes wrong, and I'll tell you what,
Sucks, man, doesn't it?
something happened. We pulled it off though, but man, you just thinking about it, you start sweating. It's
You're
like,
panicking.
oh man, come on, you know what I mean?
Of all the things, why didn't I hit something? Oh, I didn't think of that. Or
Strings
whatever.
were breaking. We
Whatever.
were
Just keep going, man.
after. It's been pretty smooth sailing though, I'd say after that. But we did have a great night with that anyhow. So it was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
And we definitely got our feet wet that night.
Yeah. Prepared you for
Yeah.
what's coming
Oh,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the same night your feet were wet when you got electrocuted?
It was not. Oh, God. I have a lot of insane stories, but I'll tell you guys about this one. It didn't necessarily happen on stage. It happened after the show. My first trip ever to New York City to play a show. I had never even been to New York City before. Okay?
Neither has Brad.
Nah, once or twice. At most.
I hope this never happens to you, okay? So we come rolling into New York City, and, of course, it's during rush hour. We have a 8x10 trailer with all of our gear in it. Why? Because, well, we were stupid and didn't know better. So we roll in there. It immediately starts raining, pouring. So we have to roll all of our gear down the sidewalk into the venue in the rain. We had to take the trailer off of the vehicle and walk it into a parking space with all the gear in it, and then park the truck at another place.
Oh my!
So we
God.
found. No, we play in this place called the Cutting Room. So I know Brad's a big Sex and the City fan.
Yep.
So the club is owned by
The writing is good. Shut up. I'm a Miranda.
Christopher North, who was in that show, who played in Law and Order too. He owns the Cutting Room. Beautiful place.
No shit, huh?
Yeah, it was really cool.
He's a good actor, man.
So we go in there, and it's like a nice nightclub, and you go to this back wall with these two huge doors, guys, and they've got the white gloves on and everything. So then they open the door, and you walk in. It's a venue. It's beautiful. They have velvet curtains in the background. So we played this show with a band called Doe, who's out of New York City. Really good band, very like punk but Foo Fighters kind of feel. Really cool guys. We had played with them in Vermont too. And so the show gets done. New York City. We're like, hell yeah, we're gonna party in New York City. And you ever get that weird feeling when just something's off and it's wrong and you just need to get home? You just like it's just something bad's gonna happen. Well, I made the decision
About 18 minutes ago.
Exactly. Oh God. Yep. It was that feeling, Brad. So we decide, all right, we need to leave. I'm like, all right. So the guy's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, we need to leave. So it's like 2:30 in the morning. So we pack the trailer, get the trailer hitch on, but we start heading home. Well, the guys that we were following got lost over near the Brooklyn Bridge. So we're following. All of a sudden, they stop really quick. I pull up behind them and stop. They come running out of the car. Like, get out of the car! Get out of the car! It's on fire! I'm like, what?
No way.
Get out of the car! The trailer, the tire on the right side of the trailer, caught fire because the cotter pin that goes in that holds the ball bearings in snapped. So the tire was running on the grease, and the grease caught fire on the tire. Now
Holy shit.
It's like 3:30 in the morning. We're lost in Brooklyn, and they're like, now the tire is on fire. We put it out, so like we need to find a place to get it fixed. I'm like, in Brooklyn at 3:30 in the morning. That's not happening.
You would definitely find somebody to take it off.
Right, $40,000 worth of gear in there.
You're gonna find one in Cranston.
That's nuts, man.
You're better off finding one in Brooklyn. I'll
That's
tell you
scary.
that.
That's
Pretty
scary
much,
shit.
right?
At the very least, the guys with the garbage cans on fire know how to put it out.
They know how to play drums really sweet too.
Yeah, they do.
So we decide. Now it was just me and my buddy Luke, who was a guitarist at the time, driving together. The other guys were in another car. They're like, well, we're gonna go get a hotel. Luke and I are like, I look at him and he's lunatic, and I like, we're going home. He's like, yup. So we drove all the way from New York, all the way back to Rhode Island, 30 miles an hour on 95. It took us 7 hours and 45 minutes to get home. Okay.
Two toll
Oh my
booths.
God.
When we actually got pulled over by a cop, and he told us, you need to stay right here because the tire was still smoking. And he got another call and said, you guys stay right here. And I said, uh-huh. As soon as he left, I took back off. He could have caught us on the back of a deer, but he didn't come back. So we got home, and I'm not even joking you, the tire was hanging on by one bolt. That's it. It was almost underneath the trailer.
Just
We got home.
flopping around.
Smoking
Nuts, man.
when we pulled him.
That's pretty good, man.
That's one of like a
I don't
thousand.
know, Craig. There's a decided lack of vagina in these crazy rock and roll stores.
Well, Kaz's up next.
Kaz is up next. Wow.
And
Don't take that
And
from
again,
him.
if we don't get it from him, we'll get it from his wife.
I almost feel ashamed because my wife is literally sitting
Exactly.
standing. There was a gig that this is a previous band, and we did a gig up in Sanford, Maine. Total redneck. KKK racist.
You know we're huge in Sanford, Maine, right?
I
You're just killing this show, dude.
let's put it this way.
They want to make me mayor of
Let's
that
put
town.
it this way. Their dart team, they call themselves the Spear Chuckers.
Yes.
But anyway,
Is there's a car screeching?
We did a gig up in Sanford, Maine, and the only good-looking girl was the bartender.
She dark too?
No. And she was this cute little bubbly thing.
Yeah.
And a total airhead.
Bubbly
Total
KKK
airhead.
member.
And I damn near hooked up with her. We brought her back to the hotel.
What's this
And
we?
nothing
Stuff.
happened.
Who's we?
Nothing. Well, I brought her back.
Oh,
to the
okay. I was gonna say this was a
Yeah.
pretty good party.
I
What's
didn't
going on? Yeah, weird.
And there was a bunch of things going on at the hotel between the rest of the guys, and she kind of disappeared. So by this time, I'm all lit up. I'm fucking 3 sheets to the wind by this point, and I'm trying to get this bubbly blonde into the hotel room with me, and she disappears on me. So we get up the next morning. I'm hungover as fuck, right? we go to the local airport, with a tiny little airfield out there in Sanford, and I run into her.
Really?
Pilot.
It was Sanford, Maine.
She was sleeping with the drummer of the fucking band. I'm
No. Oh man.
Wow.
I mean, that's
Poor bass player.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Mike, you pulled another hero moment for a drummer.
You know,
I was just talking about how close drummers and bass players are, but not that close, you know.
not that close. But
That's pretty good.
but anyway.
And he hands the mic back over.
So since Jay's not here, I'm not going to tell the full story because it's something that Jay and I experienced, which is definitely probably the best story ever. And I don't want to put it on tape just in case there are
Legal issues.
in case we run for office at any point.
All right, I paused it. Go ahead.
Yeah, right.
I will tell you this story before we leave because
Just make
you
sure
will
you hold the microphone.
you will not believe it.
All right, so we sat here, we asked the rock and roll band about their crazy stories, and we got some pretty lame shit. Kara, you got a good story. Let's no, just kidding. But Kaz's wife's got a good story. Let's hear it.
Hi. Yes, I do. When I first started dating my husband, his other band, the tribute band, I was at JR's in the ladies' room, and some girl.
And that's where you met Mike.
No.
Was he sitting?
No.
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 Just kidding.
Some
No,
girl
This jokes, brother.
was saying how much, me and my husband, we were dating at the time. And some girl is going off in the bathroom saying that bass player how much she wanted to fuck him. And I'm listening to this and I'm laughing my ass off. And I said, thank you very much. And she goes, what the fuck you talking about? I said, well, I fucked the bass player, thank you very much. And I walked out.
No way. That's awesome.
Yes.
That is cool.
Nice.
That's freaking awesome.
So that's
You're
my
best friends to this day.
Yes. Yes.
So that was
Awesome.
cool. So she didn't leave with the drummer.
No. Oh, no. Oh, hell no. Hell no.
That was a blonde.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm a redhead.
that was good. That was
And
good.
and that drummer, I went fucking with a 10-foot pole. Anyway,
That's a big pull.
That's the problem. That's probably what he wanted anyway. So. No, I'm just kidding.
That was
That was pretty good.
I was expecting like a 20-minute story.
no, that was
Yeah,
good.
I fucked my husband.
To the point.
That's amazing.
Oh shit! All right, Brad, lead us into this next segment.
All right,
Let's do
yeah.
something.
So, we talked a lot about you guys, and that's awesome. But what do you feel about your contemporaries? We think about what's going on in rock music, hard rock, heavy metal, whatever you want to call it. We talked about all your influences, and they all seem to be steeped in music from eras ago, whether it be the Sabbath influences or the 90s influences, the early 2000s, and the bands. And Mike, you played in a Creed tribute band and things like that. So... Okay, maybe it wasn't a tribute. I don't know. But,
Why you
but
guys
what do you
laugh?
feel about the current state of hard rock music, whatever you want to call it, in 2018? Like, what's going on today that you like? What's going on today that you don't?
So, I think that there's a huge misconception with rock and roll music, and everyone says rock and roll's dying. Rock and roll's not dying, and I think it speaks volumes now. A lot of the, I don't want to say younger bands, Christ, a lot of the up and coming bands now. It's really rock and roll based. There's a band called Waylon. There's a band called Blacktop Mojo. That's absolutely incredible. You see a lot of the classic rock influences with these bands, and they're getting it. They're writing good songs, good melodies, and it's going back to good songwriting again, and it's straight out rock and roll. And I think that you don't hear a lot about that. I'm sure even some of the listeners have heard about the whole Gibson guitar company going under and all this stuff and everything else. What people don't really know is that Gibson had one of the best years in past 10 years of selling guitars. What ended up happening was Gibson got invested in software as a software company, bought a software company, and that went belly up. It was not the guitars in general.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of misconception with rock and roll now, and rock and roll's dying, and rock and roll's this, rock and roll's that. But it's garbage information. So you hear a lot of the bands that are touring now that are up and coming, a lot of the rock festivals, it's rock and roll. It's not metal. It's not, because metal, as incredible as the metal scene is, which it is, especially overseas, rock and roll bands
Even here in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, there's some sick stuff going on around here.
Oh, the metal community around here it's insane.
Yeah.
They're an amazing scene. They're such a family, and I agree with you. Around our area, New England, rock and roll music is probably not as prevalent as it is maybe from the Midwest, which is a lot of really good bands coming up from there and touring, which I think is good for us, because I think the important thing for us is, obviously, we're not trying to put a stamp on who we are or what we are. We're not trying to write a certain way, but I think it's our influences, it's the stuff that we love, and it's stuff that comes out.
In the music that comes out comes what you play.
Exactly.
All right, but you're not answering my question. What do you think about what's going on today? Like, what are the bands that are making you happy right now? What are the bands that are pissing you off? And it's okay if you don't want to name them, but name them.
I knew it was coming anyways. It's tough. Like bands I mentioned, like Blacktop Mojo, Wayland, just really good rock bands. Now, let me just throw this band's name out, and I'll give you my opinion on them. Greta Van Fleet.
Oh God, they were on my list. They were on my list.
Yep.
I've got them here. What bunch of Zeppelin ripoffs?
So, and I hear that a lot. And yeah, they sound a lot like Led Zeppelin. Okay, and I agree with that. And I'm so torn listening to them, because you watch those kids play music, and you watch what comes out of them.
They're wicked talented.
They're incredibly talented, and Led Zeppelin ripoff or not, I look at it this way, and Dave Grohl had actually talked about this too. Their influence on kids who are now just picking up instruments is the same influence that we were getting when we were kids. Right.
No, never.
It's you know what I'm saying? Like they're call them what you want, and I agree with you to an extent. Yeah, they sound exactly like Led Zeppelin. They sound almost exactly like Led Zeppelin.
Yep.
You could have bigger problems.
Yeah.
Huge
I'll
problems.
agree with that.
Not only
One
that,
thing I want
yes.
to see them do, and I got no problem with that. I'm not a huge Zeppelin fan. But
Sophomore
what I
album.
can tell you is this: I want to see them take that and do something else with it. Okay, but the point is though that everything comes full circle, right?
Right.
Okay, and good music is good music. I think they're writing good music,
Yep.
but I feel like I've heard it before. Maybe I'm not the target audience. At 42 years old, I'm definitely not the target audience.
But I think you are to an extent, though.
Because I'll say, because I actually like them, but these guys know, and they'll say, because I listen to everything, and you guys know that. I mean, I love Southern rock, classic rock, metal, whatever it is. You know what I mean? I'm not a huge rap fan. You know what I mean? But I listen to everything. And one of my biggest things that I've been saying is rock and roll is starting to make a comeback. Like you were saying, and I've been so happy about that, because it's just straight up rock and roll, and that's what is my main love. You know what I mean? So I'm glad to see it making a comeback. That's why when I listen to you guys, I'm like, these guys are fucking awesome. You know what I mean? I was like, I love this. This is great, you know? And it's just, I like that return. But like you said, you know, Greta Van Fleet, they're saying, we're really not influenced by Led Zeppelin. Right. We just sound like that. And it's like, well, I get they're trying to make their own path.
make their own way.
They're distancing themselves from it. But at the same time, they are writing incredible music.
Yeah.
You know, they're talented.
See, that's the thing about like that band you were talking about earlier. Seeing it through the eyes of a band is always different. You know what I mean? Because you know what it takes to have done that, to have accomplished that. You know, so I mean, when you're in a band, you're always gonna view other bands differently than maybe.
A lot of what I'm seeing especially in today's rock music, you know, metal, whatever you want to call it, you hear all these guys experimenting with guitar tunings. You know, they're dropping their guitars to unseen level. You know, dropping them down to A's and you know this, that, and that. We chose to, you know, stick with the 440 drop D tunings. You know, the stuff that we grew up on.
Yep.
And I think that's what it's got to go back to. I think that's what bands like Greta Van Fleet have done. They've gone back to
Like the full
the
circle
standard
thing,
turn,
yeah.
the full circle standard tunings, and that's I honestly believe that's what people want to hear. You know, it started in the '90s when guys like Alice in Chains started dropping their tunings, and you know, it continued on with bands like Alter Bridge. Don't get me wrong, I love them to death, but you know, when you start dropping your tunings to C, B, A, you know, it kind of loses all of its
You think
punch.
they're doing that
Right.
to get heavier without writing heavier
Yeah,
music?
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
And I feel like a lot of that's going on.
It's all an effort to be darker. It's all an effort
Yeah.
to be more edgier, and I get that. You know, you want to do something different, but it's got to come around again. You know, and
Yeah.
that's the way I feel. That's what I feel about this band, and what I like about this current band is we play a lot of stuff that's in 440 or a drop D tuning, and it adds a little more punch.
Yep.
No, I got to ask. You keep saying this current band. Does that mean Jay's out because he's not here tonight?
Absolutely not. I mean, you know, Jay knows how to tune his drums, so
I gotta say, I know nothing about drum. I have as much rhythm as a corpse, but I have to tell you, watching Jay play, that man is a hell of a timekeeper.
yes, he
Yeah,
is.
he really
I
is.
mean,
Good.
Jay is you know, in my humble opinion, is only one of the best two drummers.
He's an incredible drummer.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah, he
I've
is.
ever played with. I mean,
Well,
he knows exactly how to tune his drums. He knows
Kaz has been playing with drummers since 1968, and he's
pretty much. And I've left a trail of shitty drummers behind me. You know, and, well, I mean, not
played with that
necessarily
guy.
in talent-wise, just being total fucking douchebags. You know, I left a trail of fucking drummers behind me. So,
well, that guy that played with you in that one scene in Animal House was really. You're screaming at him. You don't say shout yet.
Speeding up the tempo and this, that, But again, I think it's all got to come full circle eventually. And if this is the band to do it, then
I think
great.
This is definitely the
It
band
has
to.
to.
Do it.
There's
I mean,
only so many chords. There's only so many sounds that can be produced until you. I mean, unless you just grabbed a synthesizer and started making all these
No,
whacked
you're
out
absolutely
shit.
you're absolutely right.
It's going to at some point sound like something else
right.
or be influenced by something else. That's the way it's
Of
going to
course,
go.
no.
You know.
What does it come
absolutely.
back to? Songwriting.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, you take
It comes-
our song "Long Way Down,"
Love that. Yeah.
and that's just a riff that I just happened to come up with at rehearsal one night. That bass line has been played by everybody from Aerosmith to Iron Maiden to Rage Against the Machine. What I did is just slow it down.
And slowed it down. Put your own.
I slowed it
little
down,
thing.
put my
Yeah.
own
Yeah.
taste with it. And Jay came along and put this fucking incredible groove to it,
Yeah.
and the song just developed from there.
No, I love that song. I love that tune.
Thank you very
I
much.
really
I
do.
appreciate
Definitely.
that.
Jay wrote the change.
Jay wrote the change on the guitar, and
Yeah.
he come up from out behind the drum set one time. He says, "I got a great." He shocked the shit out of me. He comes out from behind the drum set. He says, "I got a great idea for the chorus," and he comes out and says, "Seth, let me borrow your guitar."
really?
What are you fucking kidding me, dude? You're a drummer.
You're
and
not
you
gonna
come
break
out, and
it,
he, and he
right?
sits down on the drum riser and comes up with this great riff for the chorus, and the song just developed from there.
Now, does he play guitar at all, or you like kind of?
Oh yeah, man, his guitar playing's just as good as his drumming, without question.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a person who's like that, who just every
He just happens-
instrument
yeah.
he just sits
Yeah.
down
Anything.
and he's like, "Hey, I can do that," and
He'll send
I,
us
wanna
stuff
punch him,
in, like,
you know?
man,
you know?
yeah.
And just for the record, I lay as good flooring as Craig does.
Yeah.
Hey now.
We,
Yeah, I just
no, don't give her the mic.
That could be taken in a couple different ways.
Right.
Can we get like a stand-in
No,
for your
but
wife?
that's-
Can we get her twin sister? Can we get her in?
That's it. That's impressive, but but that goes to show, like I was saying, how there's only so many chords, there's only so many sounds that you can produce out of a thing. It's the professionalism and the ability that you have to do it that makes it into a great song. That you know, to still take that sound and create something different out of it.
Well, the
that's
talent,
awesome.
the talent, the songwriting, and the chemistry. You guys have it all. You know what I mean? And that's what big bands, you know, that's the main thing that they really need. And you guys got it. You know,
Cool.
And I think this is actually a really good transition into our next topic, because we're talking about musicians versus rock stars.
Yep.
And I feel like the 80s and a lot of the bands that influenced us, or at least our childhoods, you know, I feel like they were rock stars more than they were musicians. And they put out songs that people like, but it followed a distinct formula. And so now we've got bands today that won't give it up. And they're still kind of flying the flag. And, you know, we love them for what they did, but they're still doing stuff. And we're not entirely sure if this is a good thing. And I'm thinking about bands like Foreigner that are touring with 2 original members, and they don't have the original singer. I mean, to me, Lou Gramm is Foreigner. Okay, if I had to name anything. And I'm not saying the singer's the only part of the band. I'm sorry, Seth. But I'm thinking about the fact that you've got a band, they're all creating music together, and they represent a moment in time. So when you take somebody like Lou Gramm out of the equation and bring some guy who was singing in a cover band and coming in and all of a sudden assuming those emotions and trying to connect with these lyrics and then trying to convey these messages to their audience, I don't know if that's really working. So what are your thoughts on bands today like Foreigner or Rat or bands like Skid Row, that a lot of the key components of what made them what they are, they're still touring, and yet they're not as good. So let me share the mic, guys.
As right away, he's like, give me that.
Yeah, it's almost a shame. I'll be honest with you. I mean, you got, you know, like you mentioned, Foreigner. I mean, at this point, they got no original members in the band.
I think there's one, right?
Mick Jones is only part-time anymore.
He's not even touring with them full-time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
They're all foreigners.
Yeah, basically, they've got.
I know, but that's,
you know, Mick's got health issues, and I get that. You know, and you got a guy from a band called Hurricane. You got Jeff Pilson from Dokken. You know, and at one point they actually had Jason Bonham playing for him.
Yep.
And
Brian
I mean,
Tishy played drums for
it's
them too?
What's that?
I think Brian Tishy played drums for them too for a little while.
It's quite possible. No, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Does it seem like a tribute or a cover band? Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
However, I'd still go to the concerts.
Well, I saw them with Def Leppard, and that's why I'm bringing them up. I actually saw Foreigner open up for Def Leppard, and yet I didn't feel like I saw Foreigner. But I know I saw Def Leppard.
Right.
So that's the difference. And
Well,
we'll get into that in a minute.
I saw
They're pretty
Foreigner.
easy to identify.
My wife and I saw Foreigner open
actually
for
just
Journey. And Journey's another classic example because I mean they got a guy who's more or less imitating the classic lineup.
But where would all these bands be without
Absolutely,
you know, without bands that without their tribute bands
True.
to you know what I mean?
True. I mean, you know, but
There's
you know,
so many of them out there.
There's you got bands like Foreigner and Rat who are basically touring with one or two of their original members.
They got so close, because I'm a big Rat fan. I will admit that. I'm really disappointed that they had 4/5 of the lineup there, or 3/5. You know,
Right.
Yeah,
Nowadays,
one died. I mean,
now,
you know, he gets a
you know,
pass.
Warren DeMartini isn't even with the band anymore.
Yeah.
And
without
that's a
that
shame.
guitar, it's just not
Exactly.
there.
It's not.
And
No,
they've
I
got some
agree.
phenomenal clones, but now you've got the singer who's back in, and I guess he owns the rights via a business
And
partnership.
he
that
can't
they're-
sing anymore.
Well, he's 69 years old.
Whatever. I mean, his voice. You know, he's one of those singers that his voice is blown out. You know, I mean,
I think it was more of his
and
style.
it's
though,
like
maybe is
Sebastian
why.
Bach. You know,
Well, I mentioned Skid Row. Yeah.
he's not a he can't sing anymore.
And I'm pretty sure you were with me when we saw Skid Row with Johnny Solinger.
Yes,
And I have to tell you, Johnny Solinger is a hell of a singer.
Yes, he is.
He's
absolutely.
not Sebastian Bach.
And he's no longer with the band.
No, he's been out for a couple years now. They've had 2 others since then.
Right.
And they've got a phenomenal vocalist
Right.
in the band now. Still not Sebastian Bach.
No, absolutely.
And, Skid Row was never just an opening act for Bon Jovi. They were always a bigger band than that.
I agree.
I feel like they should have been bigger, but they couldn't keep it together. Why can't these guys do like we all do? We all go to work with people we don't like, right?
And do podcasts with
I don't know
people we
about you
like.
guys, but yeah, I do a podcast with so many douchebags.
Agreed.
Yeah. I may have inherited one more tonight. I don't know. But I'll say this. I feel like, why can't these guys just do the separate bus thing?
And it's just it's easier said than done.
I guess.
I mean,
well, that's kind of why we're coming to you with this.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love Skid Row. I've always loved Skid Row. I've always been a big fan. Sebastian Bach, not so much. I always thought that Sebastian Bach, to me, in my opinion, was one of a top 5 singer of all time in rock. But he's such an incredible douchebag.
Yeah, he's an arrogant
personal
bastard.
Well, you have a story with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you told me one.
I mean, I've seen Sebastian Bach walk into the hotel after a show dressed up in his stage uniform and stomping around like he was in the Monkey Business video, and
Hey, that ain't your business.
People, these fans who want nothing more than to say hello and get a picture with the guy. He's totally blowing them off, going to the hotel, desk and asking why the hotel doesn't have a private elevator for these.
Ridiculous.
And when the hotel staff said we don't have a private elevator, he had to go through the put on the act and turn around and get pictures with all these people. So he gets on an elevator, and a couple of people join him. Doors close, doors open again. 4 more people go into the elevator. Doors close, doors open again. 4 more people get in the elevator, and I'm watching this from afar. And the doors open one more time, and here's Sebastian Bach going, "Close the fucking doors, man!"
Oh my god! That sounds exactly
the doors
like
close. He goes up, and here come 4 or 5 disappointed fans walking right by me, going, "What a douchebag! What an asshole!"
Really?
Yeah.
And it's just a shame. It really is. I mean,
That's why you're there.
these
Those
rockers.
people are what? That's,
exactly.
That's why you're
These-
there.
Exactly.
Exactly. These
They're the
rockers
whole
really
reason.
need to realize that those are the people that are the reason why you're at.
Yeah.
They're the
Why
ones that
people want to
put you
follow you
there,
onto
yeah.
an elevator.
Yes, exactly.
I'm not saying you need to enjoy it.
No, because I get it. That I can see it. What a pain in the ass that's going to be, but that's what you signed up for.
Well, especially if you dress up and you're going making this big,
Yeah.
sham, big story,
When
Yeah,
you
not
got
to
the
mention
leather
yeah,
pants
it's
that
so
have to be
Three,
strapped together.
You're head and shoulders above everybody.
Right.
Yeah, you're walking in there. you signed up to be in that spotlight, and now you're there because of those people. So just
Absolutely.
suck
No.
it up.
I don't even
It's
think
kind
I
of
don't.
your job at this
Right.
point.
I don't even think.
And he's still
yeah.
treating people like that.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
an
yeah.
unfortunate
No, I
shame,
know.
but that's the way it is with
Yep.
a lot of people.
I don't even think that most of these people, these stars that make, they talk bad about all these episodes that happen with fans and everything. I really don't think that they're actually angry about it. They just want to project their you know what I
Sure.
mean? You know how it is.
Right.
Especially with him. I mean,
Yeah.
you can tell, when somebody's,
Yeah, he's a dick.
yeah.
But it's unfortunate. I mean,
I
like
guess we
said,
could have made that
I always
segment
thought that he
shorter.
was one of the top 5 rock singers of all time. I mean,
No,
the guy's
yeah.
got an incredible voice.
Yep.
I am not going to take that away from him.
No.
But
So where you at? 4, 3, 2, 1, which one?
Seth is right up there with David Coverdale
Yeah.
and Robert Plant and Steve Perry.
Yeah.
Smells like bullshit in here.
Smells like pumpkins.
Yeah.
Smells like
Smells like pumpkins.
That's a bunch of
No,
pumpkins.
All right, so let me turn the table there, because we could talk about this for hours. What's worse, a band like Foreigner or Skid Row that's touring with 2 to 3/5 of its original lineup, or a band like Poison that has its entire lineup intact and yet refuses to write new music?
That's a tough one. Because Poison still puts on a pretty good live show.
Yeah.
They do.
Well, they should have it down. They've been playing the same show for 19 years.
You're right. No, absolutely, and I agree completely.
CC,
He-
pick up that damn guitar again and talk to me, will you?
It's time for you to do a solo.
And then he does that Slayer riff, and he gets the crowd. Like half the crowd is there because their wives took them,
It's true.
and so he'll
The only
bust
reason
into
why I
like
saw
War
Bret
Ensemble.
Michaels 3 years ago is because of this woman right here.
There you
Well,
go.
There you go.
So,
There you go.
same thing with me. I went because my wife wanted to go, and I went. And I was actually, when it was over, I was like, wow, that was a pretty damn good show.
No, you're absolutely right.
You know, I was like, they did not a huge Poison
No,
fan.
I'm not a
you know?
huge Poison fan, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for what they've
But
done.
yeah, and I was impressed. When it was over, I was like, I had fun.
Right.
You know, I was like,
And
that
I
was
had a
good
great
time.
time.
It was
But
a
what
great
I don't
show.
understand about that, Ben, is Bret Michaels will go on tour solo and then play Poison songs the entire time. Why not just go out with Poison?
Exactly.
And you know
no,
what?
it's the same way
Maybe,
with,
just
it's
maybe.
again, going back to Sebastian Bach, we saw him a few years ago, and, in an interview that he did before that, well, I don't want to talk about the past. I'm all about the now, man. I want to talk about the now, man.
is just
And
great.
the next time I saw him on stage, he's like, "Thank you for 25 years, man."
All right, do me a favor, Mike, right now. Do it. Just say, savage animal.
It rolls off the tongue, man. It rolls off the tongue.
Rock and roll.
Savage animal.
Rock and roll is a savage animal. Or what was the other band, the name that came up? Did you guys see that show, Supergroup? It was on VH1.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 5 members come together
It
as
was,
fist.
Sebastian
And-
Bach. Oh yeah, It was like Voltron, right?
Yeah.
But
It's
he wanted to
Ted
name the
Nugent.
band Fist.
It was Ted Nugent,
Ted
Jason
Nugent.
Bonham.
I remember that.
Evan Seinfeld from Biohazard.
Thank you very much.
And Scott Ian.
Yes.
Scott Ian, that's
I mean,
right,
that
it
was a
was.
super group.
Absolutely. But then he wanted to call the band Fist. And he holds up his hand to everybody in that house, every cameraman, and he's got his hand like 5 fingers, all come together as a fist. And I'm like, you're naming your band after anal rape.
Let me say something about the old and new stuff. So,
Yep.
and this is kind of just came to me as Mike was talking about it, and I think it stems back to where we're at right now. So I think what happens is, and I heard Ann Wilson talk about this from Heart about when they record new stuff, but they don't play a lot of it live when they do their shows. So it's almost like when you talk about it coming full circle thing. So when you first start out, you're playing all your songs, nobody knows them.
Yep.
But you got to play those songs, right, to get to a point where people know them. So as you get a catalog and, you hopefully get people that love your music, come out to see certain songs and stuff like that, you're almost starting over again. Because once you've gotten to a point where you have those songs, people are going to come to hear those songs. Now, regardless if the new stuff that you're writing is good or not, they're coming for Hotel California. They're coming for Barracuda. They're coming for this. They're coming for that. You've almost come full circle and become a new band, a fresh band again, because people aren't coming to hear that new material, even if it is good. So I think when I saw Heart, they did it right. They did a mix of their old stuff, new stuff, and they did some Zeppelin covers and stuff.
Zeppelin covers.
And they mixed it in where it wasn't all in a row where it was like, all right, we're going to do Barracuda, we're going to do You're Crazy on You, we're going to do, and then all of a sudden we're going to do 4 or 5 brand new songs. And that's the time when everyone goes and gets nachos.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. Like, they mixed it in really well, and then at the end, they came out, they had a 30-person choir come out, they did a couple of Zeppelin tunes, and they were smart. They knew their audience. So I think that it's hard. I mean, if you think about it, bands that, if they want to make a living, they're making a living off of the songs that made them their money. If they want to continue to make revenue, people are going to come and see to hear those songs. But at the same time, I think, and I mean, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I think as musicians, I don't ever want to be satisfied with just songs that people like now. I want to write stuff that people are gonna like more, you know. And yeah, I for you, I'd like to hear, for Joe, I'd like to hear what you have, because we talked about that a lot too. Is that as we continue to write, we want to get better and not get stagnant. So I mean, let's hear from you on that.
On what was the question?
I'm counting 4 beers. We said we were in deep shit at 3.
Do you want to
officially
sleep
hit
with Sebastian Bach?
Hold on, he's up. And
Yeah, drink that beer like you mean it.
It's 4.
Yeah,
We're now on
Let him
to
get another beer.
Joe's separate cooler.
Yeah.
That could have gone so many ways. No, so I mean, the question for me to you is that I think that because you listen to a lot of stuff, Sabbath and things like that, and listen to older bands. You also listen to new stuff too. So what, you know, with older stuff that we're playing to the new stuff that we're playing, you know, how would you approach that if we were in this situation where, you know, we had a lot of songs that people were going to come see, but at the same time we're still writing? How would you approach it?
I like to play them all.
There you go.
Yes,
Play
sir.
everything, man. You know.
That's it.
You know what? One thing that I hate is when a band that everybody loves, and for one thing, a lot of bands, like older bands, famous bands, will play a lot of the same set list over and over from tour to tour, and it's like, man, it's awful. And it's like, or some bands will like stop playing big hits for whatever reason.
Oh,
they
just
get
to
tired.
play the deep
Yeah,
cuts?
they want to.
Yeah, 'cause they don't
mix
want
it all up. Play, you know.
Maiden did that not too long ago.
Yeah.
Maiden did their new album, and they played the entire new album when
Right.
they did Final Frontier. And
Yeah.
everybody was like, I just want to hear the Trooper.
Yeah.
Like, for the love of God, just play the Trooper.
Yeah.
One thing, yeah. Go for it.
Go ahead.
Being a huge fan of Ozzy,
Yep.
man, I gotta say, you know, I haven't seen him since the '90s, and I've seen him 4 times, and I love the guy. But I'm gonna tell you what, man, the catalog of music that he has is just out of control. It's
incredible.
He hasn't played the song "Over the Mountain" since 1986.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, how is that even
Yeah, how do
possible?
you not
Steal
play
Away
that
the
song?
Night. Have you never played? I
got-
mean, I can understand some stuff. Maybe Randy Rhoads, he can't play.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't
certain
kill rock
things.
and roll.
But he could
or-
play the Ultimate Sin.
the ultimate. He's played it.
I
He
haven't
played
heard
it a
it.
couple years ago.
Haven't
Man,
heard
you
it.
know what? And he was playing Killer of Giants.
Okay, that.
Yes.
I shit you
Cartoon.
not,
Yes.
dude. It was out of control. Amazing.
You've seen better shows than I have.
But I didn't
I've
see
seen,
that
I've seen him
live.
abuse war
Yeah.
pigs a few thousand
Right.
times.
War pigs.
Yeah.
Or you have a band. I mean, you know what was cool at AC/DC was when Axl Rose was singing with them.
Yep.
They were playing all kinds of deep tracks from Bon Scott that they hadn't
That's
touched.
cool.
You know, since probably the
gonna
'70s.
mention that, so I'm glad
Yeah.
you touched on that.
Yeah, his voice actually lends to that.
Yeah,
It
you know,
makes
yeah.
sense.
You gotta
yeah,
mix
does.
it up, man. You gotta play those old deep tracks
Yep.
and those. Is absolutely a cool cover, whatever it is.
Yeah.
One cool thing that Guns N' Roses did do recently is they did what was it, Slither from Velvet Revolver in their Guns N' Roses live set. Stuff
I
like
thought you were
that's
going to say
cool.
end their tour, but that's cool. I'm just kidding.
I can't even get a sip in.
Oh, we had a joke grenade there, man.
Sorry. Not a big Guns N' Roses fan.
Yeah.
No, but so I hate. I like to play everything every night. I hate having to choose. You know,
Yeah, you wish you could
leaving
just
things
play it
out.
all
Like a
all
lot
the
of
time.
times
Yeah.
we'll get say 40 minutes, whatever.
Yeah, so you
30,
have to. You got to
50
decide.
minutes.
What am I going to cut? What are we going
It
to play?
sucks.
What are we not going to
I want
play?
to play everything.
It's
You
kind of
wanna play
like
them all,
which kid am I going to take with me on the to the park? You know, which
Yeah.
one am I going to leave home? It's kind of it's hard.
I
man,
always
know.
leave my daughter.
Wednesday.
I always leave my daughter. She's such a pain in my ass.
No, but it's true. I mean, there's only a handful of bands like someone like, and do you really want to do that too? Like Bruce Springsteen will play for 3.5 hours.
He plays all kinds.
You know,
of, yeah.
and he'll play almost everything. And as great as that is, after a little while, you're at the concert. You're like, okay, like all right, I want to go now. Like can just blast out Born to Run so I can hit it.
I'm 47. I'm gonna have a bowel movement. Like,
something's gonna happen.
when I hit in the porta potty. Like,
I saw a comedian years ago who was like, he talks about 20 minutes about the depression and the poverty in New Jersey. He's like, this is called glory days.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but I mean, it's all.
Pass you by.
so I'll go off with the first thing we were talking about, and I know we want to move on, but a lot of the bands that only have one member, two members, things like that. I think it's tough because we saw them at their heyday when they were at their best, and we remember that. But I think the only thing that can dictate what they're doing is people showing up to see them.
That's right.
And I think we ultimately have to judge it that way.
Yeah.
If people are still going to want to go out and see those songs and see those bands, and they're okay with buying tickets and going out and seeing two original members because maybe it's a reminder of how much
You
they
gotta
love
play
the
'em, man.
songs.
You gotta play 'em.
Yeah.
So I think until people stop going out to see them, if there's two original members,
Just keep going.
why not keep going?
Why not?
One of my favorite bands.
As long as it sounds good.
Right.
Yep.
Just keep going. One of my favorite bands from the 80s, A Quiet Riot. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yep.
The only original member left is
I got an issue with that.
Frankie Banali, the drummer.
I have an issue with that. I just...
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, I have an issue with that.
Yep.
Frankie Banali is a dick.
Nice.
No, I'm being honest.
No, let's hear it.
He's been through at least 2 to 3 singers, and from what I gather from reading information, he is not the easiest person to work with. And if you see him on interviews, he's a dickhead. And I just think, when the lead singer died on that, let it go.
Yep.
Let it go. But you're reincarnating something that should have been dead a long time ago.
Oh, I got to say this. I got to hand it, though, to Kevin DuBrow. Okay, because that man reincarnated his hair. Okay.
But I
In
agree. I agree with
1983,
that.
he was singing Metal Health,
then-
and he was balding then. And then out of nowhere, he's touring in 1998, and he has a mane
Yeah.
that
I-
looked
I-
like the
I-
Lion King.
That could be. I mean, he took
Mike.
big time. He took it hard. He took it hard when Kevin
that-
DuBrow
he
died
took it
and
hard?
everything. He took it hard.
That's the only thing that came through.
That's a
He
ringtone.
took it hard. That was it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I take your line, Brad?
No. I'm so glad I came here.
You know what's really I just came to this huge realization. I really don't know what this means, but let me just lay it out for you guys here. So we're talking about they've been through 4 or 5 different singers, and
Yep.
other bands have been through 3 or 4 different guitarists, bass players, and stuff like that. The Psychle's been around since 2000. They've only had one singer.
Yeah. That's right.
Am I the dick?
Am I the Kevin DuBrow of
Am I?
Psycle?
Am
I just
that
want to
guy?
know, though, Mike and Joe.
Frankie Banali of Psycle.
Mike and Joe, though, like when you fired Seth, are you still going to tour and play the same songs with a new singer?
We'll get.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Can you
another
get
great
somebody-
question.
He's our,
Scott Stapp's available.
oh yeah.
What a
We'll
great
get Chris
question.
Daughtry.
What a great question, though. If your band had to go on without you, who would you pick to replace yourself?
Oh, that's a good question, man. That's a damn good question.
It's a tough.
Nobody taking it to my
No
fucking
one.
grave.
Cycle's done when I'm gone. No.
I mean, I just dropped the mic, didn't I? Yeah. So, here's the tough thing. It's not about, I mean, most people that know me, I'm the opposite of ego when it comes to stuff. And to me, I get the opportunity to get on stage as a fan, and I have these guys in the band that I enjoy listening to.
I definitely get that vibe from
as a
you
person,
too. All you guys
and I
are
love
like
that. I mean, speak of these two guys too. I tell them all the time, like, dude, that part that you came up with is awesome. Or, I'm a fan of listening to the stuff that these guys write because it's about the collective. It's really about the song. So for me, it's never about my voice. I hope that when I'm done doing this, it's about my ability to write lyrics and to be able to tell that story. And I hope that is the lasting impression I give. It's never about how I sound. To me, it's important about the message that's conveyed.
Excellent.
You know, and I think that's something I've always worked really hard on. It's really important to me. Every time I get on stage or whatever I do, it's not about really representing myself. It's that I have to make sure that I'm at my best as I can be, because these guys, I'm representing them on stage. I'm representing them in anything that I do, and it's important to me that I represent them in a way that they're putting in as much work as they do on this music. So I need to match that. I need to meet that.
You guys have that respect for each other too. That's a big thing you got to have too.
Yeah, you have to, and I think, like Mike was talking about Jay's drumming, and you know, in other interviews and times that I've talked about stuff, and it's funny because when I do interviews, Carol will occasionally text me through Facebook while I'm doing it, and I say this to her all the time, and I know she'll laugh when I say this, but I enjoy talking about the guys more than I enjoy talking about myself, because from my point of view, I get to sit there and I get to dissect the things that I love and enjoy about what they're coming up with and how they're creating what they're doing.
Right.
And for me, it's a constant evolution. I'm never satisfied with what I'm doing. I'm always trying to be better and write better and sound better, and I'm not satisfied. And I think that's a good driving force, because we're all kind of that way.
Right.
And it's not about us, like me sounding good for myself. It's me sounding good for the collective.
Right.
And that's that's the reason why I love playing with these guys in the band, is because of that. So I hope that for me, whenever it's my time to hang them up or life hangs them up for me, I just hope the storytelling aspect of it, the reaching people with the music and making
Goes
a difference
on.
in people's lives.
Definitely.
That-
Agreed.
You
Can
know?
we get a slow
Agreed.
clap?
That's
awesome.
I want a slow clap right
Good
now.
answer, bro.
Yeah. Nah, that was a great answer. I like
That was fucking fantastic. We feel the same way about this podcast.
Yep.
I can see that in the way you look in everyone's eyes.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. We're just trying to tell stories.
Yeah.
All right, so let's switch gears here, because we got all deep and introspective, and that's clearly not what
my
the show is
fault.
about. No, it was fantastic. Honestly, I appreciate your honesty,
No, it was
and I
awesome.
appreciate all the insights. We've never been in rock bands, and this is a big deal, and this is why we wanted to come here tonight.
And we said it. This is a different, from the beginning we said this is a different show from what we normally do, but it was something that we wanted to do because it was awesome, because we love these guys
For a long
you
time
know what
too.
I mean? And so
And we definitely appreciate
it's cool. You know what I mean? It's fun, and I'm having a blast right
Oh,
now.
absolutely, but that doesn't mean we're not going to break your balls.
Yeah,
So we're calling this segment "Play It Back" or "Nickelback."
Yeah.
All right. And so basically,
Is this? Wait, but hold on, before we even get into that, I just want to say this, and people can take me to task for this. Is this
A dig at Nickelback? Yeah.
well? Is it is this post the Long Road, or is this like?
was that a Nickelback album?
No, this is
was.
post. This is post his birth.
Because I will say this.
Everything from his birth.
I'll take Chad Kroger to task on a lot of things on his new music, but I'll tell you something. If you go back to albums like Curb, which was the first one that David did independently, or The State, even Silver Side Up, even to the point the Long Road, which had Someday on it. But if
Thank you, because you shut up right now.
but he wrote good songs, and he if you listen to the lyrical content up to that album, and you listen to what he was writing about and stuff, he had something. You know what I mean?
I want to say a
no,
phrase
that's cool.
right
Brad,
now.
you're not the gay one anymore. I'm just.
Notice he said anymore though. Anymore.
It's okay. I'll take it.
I'm just
I'll take
kidding.
it.
No, you can't. There's one thing you can't deny about that fucking band is that it's consistent, fucking on the charts.
It's
They're-
what they
they're
do.
there.
It's what
That's
they
what they do.
If you
cannot
know
deny
nothing else
that.
about this show, it's low hanging fruit.
But a lot of it,
Okay,
a lot of it,
Nickelback is low hanging fruit.
Everywhere.
I don't. Yeah, yes, that's right. And thanks for grabbing. Okay. But I will say this: I don't hate Nickelback, but I feel like they go the easy route. and they do take a lot of easy. Like lately, it seems like heavier music, like metalcore and stuff like that, is popular. And sure enough, the latest Nickelback album has some really weirdly heavy.
Do you guys know what metalcore is? Do you know what metalcore is?
Core.
Give him a mic. Give him a mic.
Really heavy metal, right?
Is
I
it a
don't know.
tool that you use when
Yeah,
you're
that's what I
getting
was
apple
thinking.
slices?
Out of metal apples.
I tell you right now, I listen. A lot of my music could core an apple. It could. No, Kill Switch Engage, Unearth, bands like that. That's considered metalcore.
Okay.
Okay, it's another label in a genre that doesn't need it.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
but that aside, I feel like Nickelback has jumped on that on top of everything.
But
else.
you know what?
But I will say this. All right, we were going for low hanging fruit with the joke. You guys have screwed up this intro entirely.
Yes, I love it.
You're welcome.
Screwed up on our show.
But the whole idea, play it back or Nickelback, what I want you guys to do, and we'll wait for Joe to get back. Each member offer some thoughts on some songs that we're mentioning, explaining why you love it or you leave it. Okay? And we're going to start with some obvious ones, and then we're going to get a little more eclectic as the night goes on. I'm going to lead off with Creed.
Mike.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to go with the most obvious of obvious, Arms Wide Open.
All right. You got to respect about the song, right? You know, what the song was written about. You know, do I like it? It's okay.
I'd really love for you to be honest right
You're
now.
right, dude.
Yeah, he's
Do you have to go?
struggling.
Do you have to go to the
it's
bathroom
only
again?
because I played that song so many times, being in a Creed tribute band.
So is it a playback or Nickelback?
I got to go with Nickelback.
There we go.
And
I gotta go
all
with
right, now we've
Nickelback.
got the game in line. Oh no, I've got a few things.
Yeah.
Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
Seth, you're on.
So am I talking about this song?
What's your thoughts
Also-
on Creed, Arms Wide Open?
I think it's a really good song. I think it has a great melody. You know, for all the flack that Scott Stapp gets, you know, before he went through a lot of stuff, mental illness, substance abuse, things like that, he was a really good frontman. He had a very powerful voice. And regardless if you appreciated what he was singing about or not, that dude left it out there.
Oh,
You know, and he put on a hell of a show.
Yes,
No,
definitely.
you gotta give it to that. You have to give it to him there because back in 2000, 2001, 2002, every concert he played, he had the freaking crowd in the palm of his hands.
Yep.
There's no doubt about that.
Excellent frontman, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Connects with his audience.
Yeah, and so I think,
Incredibly.
you know, it's tough because you look at like when Creed came out, and I think it's tough when bands who are hard rock bands have slower songs, and I think our immediate reaction when people just listen to hard rock is that, well, why aren't they doing hard rock?
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, you take a band like Seven Dust. Now, I don't want to spew off topic with this, but you take a band like Seven Dust, who can take the music that they play,
Yep.
and they can sit on stage on stools with acoustics and be
And-
just as heavy in a different way and be as
Yeah.
melodic. You know, think about a song like Christmas Day, or
Great-
songs like
great
that.
band.
It's an entirely different power and energy conveyed in a different way. And I think that a lot of people who were listening to With Arms Wide Open when it first came out, I think if they look back on it now, when they first listened to it, they probably loved the song. And because over time, Creed has gotten so much flack because of so many
Yeah,
different things,
right.
they look back and go, screw that song, this song's
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
But they were recording on the video on MTV because they love the song.
Well, those are the people that are listening to the stereo at home when no one else is around the radio. That song comes on, and they'll crank it and sing along to it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean it's a
it's just-
beautiful, it's a beautiful melody. You know, I think the song's put together well, and it's it's got its own thing, and I think that if you look at it when it first came out and how it was, I think it's a great song. So I wouldn't.
So it's a playback.
play-
I would. Yeah, I would.
That's a
And you know
playback.
what? I think over time, when we look back on it in 25 years, people will listen to it, have never heard it before, and go, I think that's a pretty good song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
We still on
Joe.
Arms Wide Open?
Yeah.
I stepped away. We have.
very philosophical.
I was gonna say we have 19 songs on this
Seth,
list.
Seth brought us through the.
This is
he
going to be
took
a
us
5.5
to the
hour
ringer.
podcast, and
That's
I'm okay with that.
So, what we're asking you is,
Yeah.
Play It Back or Nickelback?
Oh shit.
Creed, Arms Wide Open.
Play It Back. I prefer a different Creed song, but
But you'd play it back.
I'd play it back.
All right.
Thank you for
Yeah.
keeping that concise. We only have so much memory.
No, that was good. We had we gave Kaz just gave us a lot of and then he gave,
I'm going to get right to it.
That's his joints hurting.
Play It Back or Nickelback. 9 Inch Nails, Animal.
Animal was a good tune. I thought. That was a crazy album.
Downward
actually.
Spiral.
Yeah.
I love that album. Me and Craig always go at it about it. You know, he hates it. I love it. I
It's
love
been a
the
while.
album.
It's been a long
It's
time
different-
since I
it's
heard it.
different,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
If you look at my notes in quotations on the side, I said, I think that's the name of the song. Fuck them, they suck. I won't say that.
Keep them coming.
No, but I just was, I didn't like that sound that 9 Inch Nails had. That it was, at that time I was a huge Alice in Chains fan.
Awesome. Yeah.
Still am.
Yeah. Me too.
You know, and like I said, I listened to everything. I love Southern rock, and it was just so different in that way. And it was like, are they really playing their instruments? Or are they just making sounds with them?
Yep.
Which is still cool, and I get it. And
It took
was,
me a little while to get into it. I'm going to be honest with
Yeah.
you. But I remember, it's a good memory, just cruising around in my buddy's Monte Carlo. My buddy Larry, and he had a big hole in the floor in the back seat, man. So when you were driving,
The floor's
you,
wide
you
open.
could see
I
the
feel like
road
everybody-
underneath you.
Everybody's got a
And
friend
it
with a
used to
Monte
have that
Carlo that
album
does that.
blaring.
Yeah.
Man, it was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
it was just like
Well, there's memories attached to it and
there's
stuff.
there's
so that's,
that too.
Yeah.
We were in high school, and
So when
it
you
was a
hear,
new
hold on,
sound.
let me stop you. When you hear, I want to fuck you like an animal, you think of Larry
Oh man, yeah, it's been a
and a Monte Carlo and a big hole.
in the
The good old days. The good old days.
Joe's gonna
So-
beat the shit out
We'll
of me.
say
later.
that's a playback for Joe.
right on.
No, that's cool. So, Seth, what about?
I'll be short and concise with this dick.
Short-
All right, hold on. All right, Brad's a dick, by the way.
That's enough for me.
It started in 1911.
Play It Back or Nickelback?
Before I even get into that, can I just acknowledge something about this gentleman right here? You know who Mike is? He is literally the person who is. Have you ever seen the rap entourages? Like a rap entourage where there's like 15 people.
Yeah.
All bitches. That's all he says in the studio. He gets album credit, but it's the funniest shit all night. That is exactly what he does.
Do you remember Arrested
Yeah, we do
Development? There was that dude in the rocking chair that
Yeah.
just sat on stage. Yeah,
Yep.
that's Mike.
That
Yeah,
dude,
we're good
he's
with that. That's
still
how we
living
do it.
off the royalties of Arrested Development.
Yep.
Yeah, I paid him $1.25 yesterday just from the royalties of this show. And then he drove me around Warwick.
All right, so 9 Inch Nails. So I think 9 Inch Nails, when they came out, they actually physically scared me when I heard their stuff. I was like, holy shit. And then I remember being in college, and I remember the reaction of people, especially girls, and I went, wow, okay. That, I mean, don't get me wrong, that never happened to me in college. Like, it was never like, wow, this girl's hot, and then, wow, she puts on 9 Inch Nails, and then it's a good night. No, I just saw it happen for other people.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. But my fiance's a big fan of 9 Inch Nails, and I think that they were so different and new. And I know that when that song comes on, it creates its own atmosphere.
Yep.
And it's different. It's not anything that you can put your finger on, and you just go, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
No, I remember when 9 Inch Nails came out with that song. I'm gonna say, what's the question again?
Play it back or
Play It
Nickelback?
Back.
I'm gonna say play it back.
Okay.
I remember when that song came out in the mid to late 90s. I tried to convince the band I was with to cover that song, and it was just simply impossible.
Yeah.
Because of of all the production and the synthesizers
Yeah.
that were involved in that song. That was the height of the industrial rock.
Yep.
If bands like Nine Inch Nails,
Ministry.
Gravity Kills, Ministry.
Ministry, yeah.
That was my favorite one.
What's the other band I'm thinking? But it's not important. But I thought I enjoyed that song simply because of how different it was. I mean, it was right alongside the Rage Against the Machine and everything that was coming out at the time. So, yeah, I got to go with
Play back.
Play It Back. Absolutely.
All right,
Nine
well,
Inch Nails
we got a
wins that
curveball.
round.
We got a curveball now, Mike.
Well, we were talking about Quiet Riot earlier, so I figured Mental Health. It's one of my favorite albums of all time, and you guys might not even be old enough. Well, I know you are.
That would be me. The oldest guy here on this deck right now.
But Mental Health,
Tonight's
just
show
listening
sponsored
to
by
that.
AARP.
I just got my first letter from them.
Did you?
I'm so sorry. That's so sad. I did.
I am so sorry.
I did. I just got
I
my
got one a
first.
few months ago.
Yeah.
It's terrible. No.
All right. So what do you think? Mental Health
Mental
by
Health.
Quiet Riot.
Mental Health by Quiet Riot. Since we talked
Absolutely
about
Play
them.
It Back.
Yeah, it's
I mean, it was the first album that I ever heard from the LA scene.
Yep.
The Sunset Strip, all that stuff. I mean, they
1983.
absolutely 83. Rudy Sarzo, arguably, other than Steve Harris and Jaco, probably my biggest bass
Yeah.
influence.
Rudy's
I
great.
mean, Rudy Sarzo. I mean, he didn't technically play on that album, but
No, but
the flash that he did playing over the neck and all that stuff really influenced my playing, and it just for me it just playing over the neck and doing all that flashy stuff just made up for actual musical talent.
excellent.
But I loved Mental Health. I loved Quiet Riot at the time, so yeah, absolutely Play It Back.
Play it back. Mic drop. Fuck you, Brad.
I was waiting for that. You took a bathroom break and still came back with that.
Yeah, it's a Play It Back for sure.
Definitely. Carlos Cavasso,
absolutely.
great guitarist, man.
Yeah, man.
Unbelievable, man.
A lot of people might not know Randy Rhoads was the guitar player for
right.
a long time.
Yeah.
He's the way
before he joined
made the
Ozzy.
band. Yeah, he
And,
formed the band.
Yep, absolutely.
I think they could have been so much bigger than they were.
Him and Kevin DuBrow.
yeah.
I feel like musically they relied so much on covers.
Well,
they buried
Slade
themselves
covers were their
early.
two biggest hits,
Slade-
really,
Slade-
and
They
those
didn't
were.
rely. Yeah, you're
Album
right.
was awesome.
Yeah, but Come On Feel the Noise, I don't think was a representation of what they really could do. Mental Health was a way better song than that.
Absolutely.
And yet they're covering
But they-
Slade, and
Well,
yet they're known
their
for it.
covers. The covers that they did, they really didn't want to do.
Right.
If you watch the behind the music, you can you say, well, we want you to put on a cover. So
Yeah.
we got this
Yeah.
song by Slade. We want you to perform on the album, and they were all like, well, let's perform it as badly as we can.
The worst part
But
was
it
Slade
turned
was
out-
still around, and they're like, "Why are they playing our song?"
Yeah, and it turned out to be it turned out to be a number 1 hit.
Yeah, for a long
So
time.
and it's a song that none of them wanted to play.
Yep.
So,
They did a lot of
Nah,
covers.
it's-
Covers
oh
by
yeah,
Mama's
oh
Boy.
absolutely. They were
did
part
a
of.
lot
I mean,
stuff.
when they first came out, they were part of the LA cover scene,
Yeah.
which was
All right, well, covers is a good point. Let me transition a little bit here. Disturbed, The Sound of Silence.
wow. That's incredible. Dramian has just got this incredible voice, and he lends so much to the song. And I recently saw a typical Rhode Islander. Sorry, we put R's where they don't belong. We saw it, but anyway, I saw a cover that Disturbed did, and they brought Miles Kennedy out on stage, and Miles sang the Garfunkel parts.
No
and it was
way.
absolutely
Wow.
incredible.
I gotta look
I mean,
that
the
up.
studio version is immense itself. To me, it is anyway. But I mean,
I love it.
When,
I have
when
to
those
agree.
two
I
came,
think they brought life to a song that, frankly, was a little too upbeat. I think that song needed to be slower.
yeah,
I
And
no,
I think
agree.
it needed to be moodier. And yeah, I think they not only did Simon and Garfunkel justice, but I think they actually reinvented just how much they understand lyrics.
Oh,
It brought out. It brought out.
I think
Who was better than
Disturbed.
Paul
People
Simon?
are going back into Disturbed's catalog now and be like, well, you know what? These guys can actually write a goddamn song. I'm a huge fan of Disturbed.
Yeah, me too.
As somebody who listens to a lot of death metal and thrash metal, it's probably not cool for me to admit that I like Disturbed, but I think Disturbed's amazing.
I think I love
them,
Disturbed.
man.
Yeah,
I think
and
they're incredible.
I love everything they've ever written.
They
and-
brought. They
go ahead,
brought-
Mike.
they-
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. They, what I was gonna say is, I think they brought the tragedy to that song that should have been there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Like the sound of
Good
silence,
point.
the
Good
real
point.
tragedy and emotion.
What's
is
that word I
usually
always
after
use?
that.
Gravitas.
Gravitas.
It's got like
Yeah,
fucking
no.
weight to it.
They-
Yeah.
But
Dong.
They,
Is that the word you always use?
I'm fucking leaving. I'm fucking leaving. I'm walking home.
I'm just
I fucking hate you all.
No, they definitely,
You know I love you.
definitely deepened the emotion on
Yeah.
that song. They
Oh,
brought it
absolutely.
down
Yeah.
to like, hey, wait, this is actually a really emotional song.
Absolutely.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? As before, when it was Simon and Garfunkel, it was, yeah, it was, but not like, oh, when I first heard it, I'm like, holy fuck.
Yeah, I was just like with my
wow, holy
mouth
crap.
open. Like,
Any
wow.
song that begins with "Hello, Silence, my old friend" should not be that poppy.
Yeah,
It should not be
yeah.
that happy. And I feel like, amazingly, it took 40, almost 50 years to get it.
Yep.
And this band reinvented themselves. And I got to tip my cap to Disturbed because I thought they were done. And now
love
they're
it.
all new
Yeah, I
shit.
think-
All
no,
new
no,
shit.
no,
And
they'll be
they're
around for a
good,
long
man.
time. They're really
Absolutely.
I mean, there's nothing more that I can really say about it. I think they did a great job, and I mean, even go back to them covering Genesis.
good. Right?
Oh,
yeah. Excellent cover. Another incredible cover.
Those guys, you know what it is? I mean, you guys talked about the whole musicians and rock stars kind of thing. Now, I've never met any of those guys, but I do know, and his name skips my mind, which is terrible. Their guitar player, and I've known people who
Donegan? Dan
Dan
Donegan?
Donegan, and I've heard incredible stuff about how much of a great guy he is and just a good person. Is just they're musicians, you know, they have an appreciation for not just stuff that they write, but the historical value of music in general.
yeah.
When you pick a song like that, Simon and Garfunkel, you're laying your balls on the table to get smacked. And they did it their way, but they did it justice. And I think that they were able to capture like you said, the tragic point of that song. But there's also, it's like a yin yang because there's a sweetness to that song because of the melodies and the harmonies and stuff. So they were able to capture both of those. And I think for a band to be able to do that, the only way you can do that is if you have an appreciation for it as a musician, not a rock star.
I think they made up for the whole wah.
Yeah.
Okay, because I feel like he was getting defined as the guy who just did wah.
Yeah.
And I can't even do it. You know, I got three guys surrounding me with no mics doing it better than I am. But I don't understand why they felt the need to do that early in their career and then actually show, hey, guess what? We're musicians.
Could have been a record label thing. Yeah, I mean, think about the
so
influence
much
when you're
energy.
talking about record labels and stuff like that, especially back in the day. The influence that they had not on just the music, but on the look, the everything that was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard for bands because they're like, all right, we're your bank. Do you want to do this? We're gonna back you, but you need to do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
So I think that's tough. And I think when bands break out and either they create their own label, which a lot of bands have done, or they become independent because now they've achieved success and they've been able to break out of those contracts.
David Draymond actually shot himself in the foot early in their career when they released, I guess it was right after Down with the Sickness. They interviewed him, and he told anybody that would listen that they wanted to be the U2 of metal. Okay, and they were neither. Okay, they were a hard rock band, and they were not nearly as introspective as U2. And I think when you start pigeonholing yourself that early in your career, you got to fight your way out of it. And I feel like they did. They've written some great songs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, 10,000 Fists remains on my workout list.
last
That's
album's
just
great.
something.
Of course it does.
No matter
Going
what he
home.
does,
I'm done.
No matter what he does, you cannot get away from.
I can't escape this. It's fucking
You're the
terrible.
straightest gay boy I've
I just want to
ever
let
met
you
in
guys
my
know
life.
that the royalties that are coming from Spotify are going to go to the LGBTQ society. because
LGBTQT apostrophe the number 7. You name it, I'm all there.
I'm all about equal opportunity. I equally love and hate everyone.
Brad.com.
I don't
what's
care
crazy?
if you.
I'm
I don't
trying
care
so
if you're
hard to fight this
zebra stripes,
reputation.
if you're
It's just
green.
getting worse.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But I will
right.
tell you something right now. Oh boy.
Craig's in the bathroom right now, and I hope he stays there and dies.
Christ almighty. So let's get. I'm gonna take over for bathroom boy. Let's get Joe's perspective on some Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah, what do you think of Disturbed Sound of Silence?
I like it. I'm going to tell you I like it, but in my CD player in my car right now is the Simon & Garfunkel CD that I listened to on the way up here.
I have I own one cassette still, and it's
Right?
them live in Central Park.
That's good. Anybody got it on an 8-track while we're here?
Why? I have no idea. I don't have a tape player, but he tried.
that bus feel?
My wife just looked at me and said, "Really?" Literally, my wife just looked at me and said, "Do you have that on 8-track?" I don't own any 8-tracks. My dad owns all my 8-tracks.
My dad owns all my 8 tracks.
They're still yours, though.
That's right.
Only K-Tel had those. Yeah.
All right, let's skip songs a
yeah.
little bit.
You don't?
I do.
remember?
Sadly, I remember that. I do remember that.
Craig, you filthy douchebag, you're back. So I'm going to throw the...
thinking about you while you're in the bathroom.
Oh, you have no idea. You have no
The
idea.
feeling was mutual.
Why,
I'm sure.
why fight this now?
Just go with it.
Me and the Rainbow Coalition want to know, what is your next song?
Let's see.
Me and the
what do we
Rainbow
got over here?
Coalition.
Skinner.
Skinner. Leonard Skinner. Needle and a spoon.
If I even hear the words, I'm not
gonna say it.
I'm gonna literally run across this table.
I'm not gonna say
I'm gonna
it.
run across the table. I'm that short, and I'm gonna karate kick you in the nuts.
Don't say it.
If it begins with F and it
No,
ends
he
with
doesn't. He
Rebird,
It ends with bird.
And for the record, if you listen to these guys, kicking me in the nuts is not a threat.
that's because you have vagina.
Nah, it was.
We worked so hard to kill this rumor. We worked so hard.
I got balls, but I wear them on the inside,
They're inside balls.
and they're not mine.
They're inside balls.
They're called ovaries.
Shit, that was great.
I'll bet you
Chalk
buy.
one up for the kid.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
I'll bet you're gonna
That
buy a
was fantastic.
snowblower this year.
I'm getting a,
Yeah, you're getting a snowblower this
I
year.
am
You're getting a snow cone.
doing all my own shoveling.
Gonna be plowing right through there, baby, with that snow guy.
That's right. That's right.
Oh man. No, the song was Leonard Skinner, "Needle and the Spoon."
I'm just gonna start. I've never heard that fucking song in my life.
Needle and the Spoon?
Yeah.
Play it and play it and play it and play it and play it. Just
Yes.
like every other Leonard Skinner song.
Yes.
Especially the ones that aren't
Yes.
on the damn radio
Like
Yep.
Free
all
Bird.
the damn time.
Yeah.
Free
Yeah.
Bird.
But that's like Needle and the Spoon is
Beans
on.
going on.
Like you'll hear it once in a while on the radio. They'll throw it in there, but very
You
rarely.
very, very
But
rarely.
it's such a great
Yeah.
fucking song,
Yep.
man. Such a great song. I'm a big Skinner fan.
Yeah, first band I ever saw in concert in my life.
Nice.
Orpheum Theater in Boston, 1993, and
Nice.
knocked my socks off. So yeah, keep playing it.
Yep. That's a play.
All right, you guys.
Joe
need a
said
minute?
he likes it. I like it because Joe likes it.
I'm only gonna say, play it only because it's Skinner.
Yeah.
But I'm still waiting for them to. I mean, I know they're on their farewell, quote unquote,
Right, yeah.
farewell tour. Yeah,
So's Kiss.
I'm still waiting for them to finish Freebird at the Providence P-PAC in 1987.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
I had to leave early because they wouldn't finish the goddamn song.
Well, and the sun was coming up, right?
That's what I mean. I love Skinner to death, but as soon as that song comes on in the same way, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I
Okay,
get
the show's
it.
over.
I get it. We can move on. You know.
All right, I got another song that probably hit home for you guys a little more. Seven Dust, Denial.
Oh, play it forever. Play it forever.
But why? Give me a why.
Why?
In a sentence or less, because we're running low here.
I'm sure. I apologize for that. Only because it's Seven Dust, really. Anything to me, they can do no wrong.
I love the power behind that band.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
You listen to even the stuff that just came out on the recent album, and it's just
Awesome.
it's so good and so consistent.
It's Seven Dust.
It's because it's freaking Seven Dust. You
Yep.
know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Agreed.
that Denial is off my all-time favorite Seven Dust album, Home.
Agreed.
Everything about that album to me is Seven Dust.
Well, what did I say earlier? You got your whole life to write that first album.
Exactly.
That
but
second
when
album
that
was
second
such
album,
a smack in the face.
yeah, to me, and I agree.
I got so drunk with that band. I got so stupidly drunk with them. I saw them with Stuck Mojo. Oh yeah, and who was the? Oh, Flambuki was the third band. Nobody heard of them, and for a reason. If you're in Flambuki and listening, reach out.
I saw them at Woodstock '99, man. I was right there. And this was like before I didn't even know who they were back then, you know.
Right.
But they were incredible.
Oh,
man.
they were
Just
awesome.
power
It's
behind that, man.
I'll be honest with you. One of the best concerts I've ever seen was Seven Dust opening for Creed. You know, they were. I mean, both bands at that time
Should have been
were-
the other way
were
around.
Incredible. They were absolutely
Yep.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I've been a Seven Dust fan since then.
Yep.
All right, so can we skip ahead?
Yes.
We all like Seven Dust.
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead, Seth.
You know I gotta say something quick.
Of course.
First time I saw Seven Dust live, I saw them at Alter Bridge in Hartford. And
So that's not that long ago.
I will tell you something, man. Holy shit. The Seasons album, when that came out, changed my whole idea on heavy and melody for hard songs.
Yeah.
Because I didn't hear the Seasons album first. I heard their double wide acoustic DVD that when my son was born used to fall asleep to.
Yeah.
But it was so heavy, and he still does that.
No kidding.
And that you listen to Denial acoustic, you listen to Denial full band, you listen to Denial with just one guitar and vocal, it doesn't matter. It's still heavy. And if that doesn't say something about that song, fuck, man.
That's
I'd
kind of
say
what
so,
we've been
yeah.
saying all night. It really comes down to songwriting.
Nuts. Those guys are just nuts.
Okay, heavy is in the songwriting. Anybody can drop their tuning. Okay, you can make a song sound heavy, but heavy songwriting is heavy songwriting.
Those guys do it the right way.
Amen
period.
to that. Amen to that.
Yep.
Even though you've told me to go fuck myself 7 times, sir.
8.
They've been
At
counting.
least I didn't tell you to go fuck Mike. Just
I'll be
saying.
honest with you, the way the night's going.
It's getting there. We're going to get there.
I'm gonna be riding in the front seat by myself on the ride home.
Wait, which mic are we talking about? I got to ride home with this guy. Hold on.
This is why he wanted to get me a car so bad. So I don't want to drive this fucker around anymore. Joe, play it.
Play it.
All right,
I like
moving
Joe.
on.
Joe's
like Joe.
play it. Yeah. You know it.
All right, what's our next song here? Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, again, going back to the LA scene after Quiet Riot,
Yeah.
1983. I mean, play it back.
Yeah, that's right. It was same year,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Same year. I
I'll
remember
never
when that
forget.
video came out, I thought it was the best thing since Judas Priest.
I thought it was a bunch of chicks when I first seen it. I was like, wow, look at these hot chicks. They sing great. Wow, these guys are great. Wow. I'm like, oh, wait. That's
Nah,
a dude.
nah.
Why does that chick keep grabbing your dick?
That's a song. That's a song that made me realize that Tommy Lee was a drumming god. I
He's
mean,
awesome, man.
Yes.
He's
yes,
incredible.
yes, yes.
I mean,
Definitely.
you know, smashing those cymbals to the point where they're damn near tipping over.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, he's going for the cooler of doom.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh,
Folks,
Cooler of
what's he
Doom.
going to pull out?
Let's
Joe
see
had
what-
one
oh, he's
Coca-Cola
looking-
and he's back in
Oh,
the
wait.
game.
We're going for Schlitz.
All right, he's got a
Oh,
song.
Nice.
he's gonna Schlitz.
Cooler of doom.
It's Motley Crue. You play it.
Yep.
You play it.
It's Motley.
You're
fucking
good with
Crue.
that? I wasn't sure if you were a Motley Crue guy or.
I didn't listen to a lot of metal growing up. It's funny because my cousin was big into like Ozzy, Bark of the Moon, and stuff like that, and I was always bigger into the classic rock stuff when I grew up with my parents. and
Yep.
so I didn't really get into like a lot of '80s metal kind of stuff. I mean, I crossed over to like Van Halen at that time, and I wasn't really big into that time period just because of what my parents were listening to, and also the age I was at the time.
I was the same way. It was the same thing. Because my parents were young, so I was listening to a lot. Like that's why I'm a Skinhead fan and stuff like that. I loved that stuff.
Yep.
And it took a while. It was like a buddy of mine from school was like, "Hey, check this out," and it was it was Ozzy, and I was like, yeah, "This is pretty cool," and that was it. And then I went from there, But yeah, like you're saying, I was the same way. It was all
my parents
classic.
were atrocious. No, they're wonderful people, but they waited their sweet ass time to have us. And so Johnny Mathis and the Oak Ridge Boys kind of dominated my childhood. So when Slayer showed up in my CD collection, it wasn't a surprise.
Yeah.
And I'm 42, and I got more daddy issues than Tony Soprano. So here we are.
Yep.
And I'm cutting you guys off. So talk to me about this song again.
Well, I graduated high school. And
you didn't.
I did.
Congratulations.
Listen. But you know what I've never seen?
There's only
I've
two of
never
us at the
seen-
table that did that.
Listen. But I've never seen my high school diploma. And here's why.
I never seen mine either.
The reason
They
why.
didn't mail it to you, man.
The reason why is because I went to go see Motley Crue.
Was this yesterday?
That's right. No, this is true.
I went to go see Motley Crue instead of going to my high school graduation.
Oh, dude, you are.
so I'm
you
gonna
are the
have
man.
to say. I'm gonna have to say, play it.
Definitely.
Oh hell yeah.
Oh, thank God you're still playing the game. Everybody else just gave up on the shit altogether.
It wasn't the easiest thing I've ever done in my life either.
Don't leave me hanging.
That was awesome, brother. That was awesome.
That's all yours.
Oh my God.
Oh shit.
Oh yes.
Oh shit.
All right, I got to bring this one out too. Run DMC, man. Come on, dude, come on. King of Rock.
All right, Run DMC.
Overplayed.
Run DMC. Would you ever guess that at a college in Castleton, Vermont, okay, Run DMC would be there and playing in Castleton, Vermont
Really?
to a bunch of Vermonters? I was in charge of the rugby team, who was the security for the show,
Really?
and almost saw a fist fight between Mr. Run,
Reverend.
Reverend Run,
Run.
Yeah.
and my rugby team, because he got pissed off because people would try, like, they were in our gymnasium, okay, and there were people who were trying to like get up on stage. We were all standing in front with the staff shirts and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I wasn't. I was in the back because I was fucking
you were
135
smart.
pounds. I was just like, yeah, kick his ass. That's what I do now with Mike. I stand by Mike and go, kick his ass.
135 pounds. What'd you do on rugby team? Play the ball?
No, I was, dude, I was a real mean motor scooter back in the day. I'm not anymore, though. But literally, he got pissed because we were stopping people from, like, they were trying to climb on stage and shit. I'm like, that's why we have security. Dude, you're in Vermont. Vermont is what they literally say where the men and the sheep are scared. You don't know what's going to happen.
It's crazy, man.
You know, it was nuts. But, yeah, they came to my school, and we got to see them play in our gymnasium. Run
That's
EMC.
awesome.
Crazy. I never thought I'd ever be able to say that.
Honeymoon Suite came to our high school. Remember that? Remember that?
Yeah, I remember not going to it.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, me too. I remember drinking grain alcohol and fruit punch in the back of the building while they were playing, just hanging out.
I would hope so.
I could hear it outside in the woods.
I remember seeing Honeymoon Suite open for 38 Special back in 1986. The single worst concert I've ever seen in my freaking life.
I was 7.
It was terrible. But anyway,
I wasn't
get back
far
to Run
behind you.
DMC. I've never seen a rap concert in my life. I'm not a
Yeah.
rap music fan, but I do have a tremendous amount of respect for what Run DMC has done.
Yeah,
for-
that's kind of like the way I see it too. I'm not a rap fan whatsoever, but Run DMC, I don't know. Maybe it was because of the rock thing.
Beat
that
Street?
they
Yeah,
started,
maybe the Aerosmith cover that they did.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know,
The
that
King
was
of the
pretty
Beat?
cool. I mean,
Keep rocking
again,
that beat.
Up and down the street.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know you want to do it.
No, I'm not doing
Just do it.
No.
I'm begging you. Just
do it.
Beat Street, the king of the beat. I see you rocking that beat from across the street.
Nice.
Beat Street is a lesson too because you can't let the street beat you. Huh.
Right?
Oh, I thought you proved the point that you guys didn't graduate high school.
He was getting around to that. He's just being nice about it.
Congratulations.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Oh, shit.
All right, I got one more song. I got to throw it at you. It's a band called Steel Panther. How do we feel about Steel Panther? Because
I
you
love
guys
Steel Panther.
are still making serious rock and roll music, and Steel Panther is getting rich making fun of rock and roll
it's
music.
true, but I gotta hand it to those guys, man. They're doing it right.
I've seen them live. They're amazing.
I have not. I've yet to see them live. I know they're coming to.
They're talented, man. They're
Yeah,
definitely talented.
they're immensely talented. Though all those guys are.
Well, the
very,
pedigree
very
in
good
that
at
band
what-
is unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly.
Unbelievable.
That last out that record they put out, Death to All But Metal. I mean, that was incredible.
great.
Well, that was
Yeah.
the song I was going to pick. It was a song called Asian Hooker, which is
Yeah.
a love song.
10,000 Lovers.
Community property.
Oh, wow. That's the
Community
ballad.
property. I mean,
Great
that,
song.
That's good.
Great.
That
the
was my wedding
epitome
song.
That's great.
of what they're making
It's so
fun
funny,
of.
yeah.
I have a tremendous amount of respect for those guys, and they're on tour.
I know.
I mean, they're on
right?
tour for basically playing novelty hair rock music. So
I mean,
kudos to them.
The bass player, and nothing against you, but he has his hair. He has a whole
He has
fucking
hair.
vanity
yeah,
Yeah,
oh, no.
on the side of the stage.
Yeah, he has a mirror.
Where-
he
yeah.
literally has a mirror
Yeah,
in
while
front
he's
of
on
him and on the
stage.
side of him.
Yeah.
You know,
But you know his
and it's
whole
all,
deal-
I get it because it's all part of the.
But you know his
part
whole
of the
deal,
show.
right? He's bolder than you are.
I hope so.
You know he is. That's all a wig.
Oh, that's so awesome!
no way.
I am so glad to
I
hear
didn't
that.
know that. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
You have no idea
Well,
how
we-
good that
full
makes
on
me
wig.
feel.
Well, we came to
I
your
didn't know
house.
that was a wig
We
either.
ate your food. I had to throw that back at you.
Oh, that makes me feel so good. It
And
really
I know
does.
Mike and Craig wanted me to say we ate your meat, but yeah.
You just did.
He's just, he just wanted to roll it off his tongue.
No. I like
Andy
Steel
wanted to
Panther.
say
The
that,
only thing
too.
I have against them is that, again, here we go. I know I'm going to get flack for this, but we took a vacation.
No, come on.
Has it been
back
4
in,
weeks already?
2009, 2010, out to L.A. And, we figured, we out to L.A., we figured we hit the Sunset Strip. There was, that entire week, there was nothing going on. The highlight of our week was seeing Lucas Rossi, who was... Lucas Rossi, who
the hell
was
is
the
Lucas
winner of
Rossi?
the supergroup competition, who got to play with
for
Tommy
in-
Lee,
Oh, that's
no, I
right.
thought that was
Jason
in excess.
Newsted, and Dave Navarro, and he was. Never mind that. But anyway, Steel Panther, who's listed on every friggin' poster up and down the Sunset Strip and playing. We're playing here on every
That's
Wednesday.
nuts,
We're
huh?
playing here every Tuesday. We're playing the whiskey every Friday. And they were out of fucking town. I was so fucking pissed
They
off.
weren't even there. That sucks.
Because they were out of town in the week I was in L.A. I had to get stuck with fucking Lucas fucking Rossi,
You need to plan
who
your...
stood up on that fucking stage on one fucking foot crying about about a former girlfriend who was dead. It's a true story. I don't want to bore you with that.
No, keep talking. Keep talking.
So Lucas Rossi's up there at the stage. I think it was at the
Roxy.
Was it the Roxy? I can't remember. One of those clubs, one up on the Sunset Strip. And there was like 14 people in the friggin' audience, right?
And the ghost
and he finishes his fucking song, right? He's up there and he's standing on one foot and one toe, and he's tuning his guitar, and he says, "This one's about a girl." Bing, bing, bing,
No way.
bing, 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 ding, bing, bing. She's dead now. Bing, bing, ding, bing, ding. The worst show. We walked out. It was I can't remember what club it was.
So what did you learn from that experience? Obviously,
Never to stand on one toe, tuning guitar, crying about a former girlfriend who's dead.
follow that up, Seth. I'm begging you. You guys,
I'm begging you.
Stand up and shout.
There we go.
What was the damn question? What was the damn question?
Fuck, I forgot.
Fucking joke.
Yeah, everybody's forgot.
This is why we
What's
love
the
it.
What's the next question?
No, we're done.
All right, folks. So I think we've hit a point here. We've been talking about 2.5 hours now. We'd like to thank Psycle for hanging out with us tonight. Can we hear it from Psycle? Thanks for having us. We're at your house. But this was an absolutely amazing night, an amazing episode. Long overdue. We love these guys. We love their music. And we love the fact that we can sit there and talk shit about their rock and roll, and they still take it. So, boys, do you have anything to say for us?
All right. I just want to say, needless to say, guys, thank you.
No, guys, we can't.
No.
No, thank you. You guys are the very first on air of any kind to play any one of our songs. That's awesome, and we sincerely appreciate everything that you've done for us.
Very much.
Absolutely.
This doesn't end anything. This just
No, we definitely appreciate it. You've definitely were the start of launching us to different avenues, and so we really appreciate it. We consider you guys. I mean, Brad and I have been friends for a long time, but we consider all three as very good friends, and we definitely appreciate everything that you've done for us. So thank you.
And I have to say, I was glad that Brad introduced us because great band, great group of guys.
This is Kaz.
This is Seth.
This is Joe.
From the band Psycle.
Needless
to say, we said it.
Save me. You and I could find a place that all can change. And